We have a quorum? What? All right, I get to use this. We're gonna call the meeting to order. Would staff check, I guess you're doing roll call. Yeah.
Oh, that guy's.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Roll call. Mr. Lane Abraben, who is joining us.
Present.
And Mr. Abraben, pursuant to resolution number 200493, submitted to City Commission on 11/5. Due to extraordinary circumstances, he did sign and submitted an affidavit. He is unable to be with us. Any votes? He will have to be roll call. Jason Atkins Toft. Member Richard Blunt. Member Carrie Bush. Member Linda Dixon. Member Evelyn Fox. Member Armando Grandi Gomez.
Present.
Mr. Jacob Ide.
Present.
Member Christopher Merritt. Member Jason Mitchell. Member Warren Nielsen.
Here.
Member Michael Palmer.
Present.
Chair Brett Pollitt.
Present.
Stephanie Seawright, Vice Chair. Jessica Turner Evans. Mr. Chairman, we have 9 members present. We do have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Everyone should have a sizable packet at their workplace desk, assigned dais spot. If we could get a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
You have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You should have your minutes from the last meeting in that packet. If you get a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Have a second? Member Fox seconds. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
on the agenda, I wanted to ask, are we talking about the current agenda, Mr. Chair?
We're talking about the minutes for last week right now.
Okay, we come back to the minutes, I did ask for the-
Okay. Any other discussion on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Did you want to have a question about the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I wanted to ask if I could have some comments toward the end of the meeting.
There's a special section under board comment.
Yes, sir.
Is that satisfactory?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll make sure you're written in there. Do me a favor, in case I'm not here, make sure you bring it up.
Mr. Chair, you said you're leaving at 7:30. Do you have since?
I'm going to cover that in just a second.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, under communication, chair's report, I have a hard stop time, no later than 7:30. I'm probably going to walk out of here about 7:25. Is there somebody that would volunteer? Would you like to volunteer someone to chair the meeting in the event we're still going?
I nominate Carrie Bush.
All right, Ms. Bush, would you accept? Okay, I'm told we need to vote on it, so I have a nomination of Ms. Bush to be the chair in the event of the meeting not being finished at my departure at 7:30. So,
Second.
second? Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign?
Aye.
All right, everybody's approved. Congratulations, Ms. Bush. Do we have a director's report?
There's Sarah.
I see Sarah, but she's tiny. I see her shaking her head no. Okay. Staff report? Is that?
Hi,
Okay.
oh no, we do have a staff report. So at the September 17th City Commission, commission requested that all advisory boards and committees submit an annual report for 2019 and 2020. And they sent a list of questions that they would like the board to answer. We are offering to compile the information for you and bring it to you at your December meeting. But I did just want to let you know that this is coming. So this week I will send out a link to an online questionnaire with those questions. I'll compile the information and bring it back to you. But I'm just asking the board members to respond by November 30th. And if there's another way that you'd prefer to get the information to me, we could do it over the phone or by Zoom or however you'd like to do it.
Okay,
So just
thank you. I assume
look out for that email.
Any member
so-
that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, the annual report is due in paper before January 21st. And then they also asked that a representative from the board go to the city commission at some point between January and August of next year to present the information. So at some point, we'll also be asking for a nomination for someone from GCRAB to go and present to city commission.
Okay, thank you. Member Gomez?
Point of information, Mr. Chair, to staff about the annual report. Tricia, if you could give us a breakdown, you said you wanted, there's going to be a representative to come about the report. I guess my question is, at the last meeting when we had a discussion, we're having an annual report, yet we have yet to flesh out anything for the annual report. And we've kind of been doing, I don't know how what we're gonna do or how that's gonna work. So Sarah, Tricia, if you could help us understand what exactly in the annual report we're just presenting or what we're gonna be talking about, could you expound on that a little bit more, please?
So the commission had a conversation. The city is rethinking its plan for community engagement. And the thought was that there are 26 advisory boards and committees, and those are made up of engaged citizens that they feel would be a good resource. So that's one thing, is just to connect with you as individuals and with boards to understand the roles of all the boards. And they generally don't interact regularly with the boards. So they wanted to connect with each board just to get an idea of what each board is, what their role is. And we understand we are a younger board. We've only been in existence for a year. So we will be sure to mention that. But I think we'll be able to, once we compile the information, we'll go through like what all of your thoughts are on your role and what you look forward to in the future and how the city commission can support you better.
Mr. Chair, just as an aside, to let you know, we've had a little bit of evolution. When we started a year ago, if we go back and just when we all started, we had what community engagement was, for an example. And we'll see some of that tonight with projects. We all had things, a project list, things that we started wanting to push out and flesh out, especially when it came to things like 8th and Waldo Road, how that community engagement went, how that process went, expectations we've had, expectations that we're going to staff. And when I say staff, I'm going to start specifying what that means. When I talk about staff, I'm going to talk about the CRA staff, because there's been a little bit of some confusion there, and I want to some of this we're probably going to envelop here sooner than later. But CRA staff, that mission has kind of been changing and augmenting, not so much from CRA staff, but from other counterpoints, and we'll get into that later, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions about staff report? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to business discussion items. Our first item is 200491 Downtown Hyatt Place Development Agreement.
Good evening, Chair and board members. This is Sarah Vidal from the Gainesville CRA. And I am here tonight to introduce an exciting project that's expected to start construction in January. I'll be pulling up my presentation. Here we go. So this project creates an opportunity for the GCRA to potentially reinvest in downtown to create better public spaces along the redevelopment of the parcels included in this project. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let's see if I can, there we go. So first, I'm going to go back and give you all a little background on recent development agreements that we've completed. It has been a while, and funny enough, we have a report on a past agreement later on in the agenda tonight. Then I will speak specifically to the Hyatt Place mixed-use development in downtown and the proposed public right-of-way improvements adjacent to the project, and then end with next steps. So quickly at recent development agreements. So why do we do development agreements? These are three that we have done over the past couple years. I've listed kind of the names, the locations, and the amount approved and paid in the year. Development agreements allow the city an opportunity to improve public spaces in a manner that meets the city's goals and the project's goals. And in this way, we're able to get this improved infrastructure and improvements with the timeline of the overall project, not the city's timeline, which often can compete for dollars and capital planning processes. In the past, we have done even transformational incentive programs whose terms extended for the life of the district and reimburses developers over time. And then we've done some like the, oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank right now, the Hampton Inn, where it was one specific payment, not, a payment over 20 plus years. So we've had diversity in the types of agreements that we've done, but lately they have been for public right-of-way improvements with the development. So I wanted to mention these three projects, the Southwest 9th Street extension. That is the most recent one, north, and you can see the project here in the picture, the right-handed picture. That one was approved for the dollar amount shown and paid out at the dollar amount shown. Southwest 9th Street Extension South was part of the Cascades development. You can see the dollar amount approved and then a lower dollar amount paid out. So part of the process of these types of development agreements is discrete projects are approved, and on the back end, all the work has to be inspected and the backup audited, and then you kind of get to the total reimbursable dollar amount. So I wanted to mention that because as you can see with projects like the Standard, I hope you all can see that. I'm sorry if it was cut off. They were approved for 3.1 million, and when all was said and done, 2.03 million was paid to the developer. So it is incumbent upon the developer to work with the GCRA as part of these agreements. We are kept in the loop of the project along the way. And then at the end, we're responsible for, after the developer submits all the backup, reviewing it, making sure the work is done to plans, and then the developer is reimbursed at the end. So a little bit more about this project in particular. This project is located downtown. You'll notice from this kind of bird's eye view that it has entrances on all sides, so completely accessible from 2nd Avenue, Southeast 1st Street, 2nd Place, and South Main. There will be frontage on the 1st floor of retail commercial all the way around. And then on the corners, a diagonal opening, just like the Dragonfly restaurant. The goal of this project was to really maximize the building as a generator for downtown and to minimize parking on site. So a quick look at existing conditions. So this project was approved without addressing the public right-of-way. And so we went down and really just took kind of a picture audit of the existing conditions downtown. And you can kind of see some of this was easy to deal with. So there are a few things that have already been completed in the right-of-way just because it was cleanup and there were crews available to do that. But really in working with the Magnolia Street Hospitalities Group, we were able to identify improvements that were quite simple, and then some improvements that took a little bit more investigation and time to figure out. So what we did is once meeting with the developer and the city manager, we got a team together to review these existing conditions and see if there was room for improvement. The corner property there had been a dirt lot for many years, and this was an opportunity to rethink what this could be and potentially address some aging infrastructure in order to improve basically a whole city block downtown. I wanted to give a quick shout out to the team who worked on this because it was not just the GCRA, but our partners over at Mobility with Melissa McCready and Debbie Leisner, Brian Singleton, the interim Public Works Department director, actually put the cost information together and participated. Phil Mann, now the interim assistant city manager, and Andrew Persons from planning. So I wanted to thank each of those departments for the help in getting this information together and reviewing the project with the GCRA. So moving forward, I'm just going to talk about some of these proposed improvements. And I wanted to mention that these are conceptual images subject to change. We've had that conversation before, but I wanted to let you know that it's not final. So really quick, this is Southeast 2nd Place, and this street actually is one way from the Starbucks, in the forefront of that picture on, that would be east. And so one of the requests was to one-way the portion that begins at South Main, and then the pricing that is included in your backup, and also I believe on this slide, would cover all of this, including removal of the existing brick and reconstruction of that roadway right there. I also wanted to mention that this is an opportunity to add parking where there is none, and that the project would net positive as far as additional parking that would be added to city parking availability. So I wanted to also mention that the proposed improvements are not limited to the project. Everything that you see that's outlined as a potential project for reimbursement would be for public access, so including pickup and drop-off zones as well. So the front of the hotel is similar to the Hampton Inn. Since COVID, there have been different types of things addressed with projects like this. For instance, where is pickup and drop off? A lot of people are also getting food delivered a lot more, and deliveries in general. And so as we go through, I'll kind of show you opportunities to kind of accommodate this type of business as we move forward. So this is the South Main Street side, and this is just an existing conditions of kind of what is, and you can barely see behind. I think it's if you go from the light pole 2 or 3 trees down, you can see the old bus stop area, and that's what's being proposed for a new pickup drop off along South Main. Next, on Southeast 1st Street, these are the proposed improvements. Again, this includes, removal of bricks and concrete and pavers, new pavers, new curbing, lighting relocation, and thermo striping in the parking area. So a quick note about the timeline. I believe that permits were just applied for this week, maybe even today. And so permitting will last probably through December, with mobilization happening through the holidays and a construction start date anticipated for January 2021. And then you can see the proposed opening is set a year later in July of 2022. So the development agreement in your backup is a draft. It acknowledges the work that needs to get done, and the developer work would happen within their project timeline. The majority of the potential projects outlined here would be towards the end of the project. And post-construction, Again, the developer would submit all the paperwork to us, and with the eligible costs as outlined in the agreement. It's a not to exceed amount with 10% contingency in case of unforeseen conditions. The city would work with the developer on the one-way process that they'd be pursuing and additional requests, all public spaces. And tonight we're really just looking for your feedback on the opportunity and wanted to give the board a chance to review the project and ask questions. I heard that the backup may not have been accessible and was sent out to you. It's because this same item was actually entered into Legistar for the City Commission for the December 3rd meeting. So we apologize for that. I think it held up your backup posting as well since it had the same number. But this item will be taken to the commission for consideration on 12/3, and we're really looking for your feedback in order to communicate that to the commission as well. As far as an opportunity to kind of start refocusing on the eastern side of South Main, not since the Hampton Inn have we had an opportunity of this scale to get involved, so it's an exciting opportunity. I did also want to mention a few things that I neglected to earlier as we went through the pictures. This is kind of an interesting thing that I don't know that we've seen it in Gainesville, but about mid-block along Southeast 1st Street, and I'll go back to the picture just so you all can follow with me. There's a small, what they call jump lobby on the 1st floor, and that's in order to maximize street level retail. The main lobby of the hotel will actually be located on the 2nd floor, so there will be elevators and stairs on the 1st floor that go up to the main lobby. And the artwork, the interiors will all reflect local creatives and really the spirit of the community through dance, music, art, and everything with a local flair. There will also be a bar and a restaurant on the 2nd floor as well. And one last thing, parking, there will be valet and self-park available on Southeast 1st Street to the garage, and then the garage on 2nd Avenue. So the developer has executed an agreement for parking within that garage. So I wanted to mention that as well. So back to the next steps. So one last thing I wanted to mention is that approval of this recommendation or moving this recommendation would really be approval of these 4 right-of-way projects, and that the board supports the scope of work for each, but also the financial participation as outlined in the fiscal note, which I'll summarize. The total cost estimate for the improvements in the public right-of-way would be $385,727.96. And then we've included the 10% contingency to bring it up to $424,300. That contingency is really for unforeseen conditions, and the city would have the sole right to approve contingency expenditures. So I wanted to make note of that as well. So we would be looking to utilize funding from the Downtown Trust Fund for the majority of it, and the balance out of the new GCRA fund. With that, we do have members of the development team on the meeting with us. I believe the engineer on the project, Sergio Reyes, and managing member of Magnolia Street Hospitalities, and also president of AMJ, Mike Warren. So they are available if you have any specific questions, and I'm available as well. I wanted to thank you for your time tonight and turn it back over to the chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I know we have questions. I've got a couple of clarifying questions. You made one statement that this project was approved without any public right-of-way improvements. Can you clarify that?
Sure. That just means that the conditions that you see in the existing conditions photo, that those were not going to be changed as part of we were not requiring the developer to address those conditions as part of their development.
Okay. Second, In the documents we have, you indicate that 256,000 is coming out of the downtown trust fund, and 129,000 plus 38,000 is coming out of the W-821 fund. I know the downtown trust fund is one of those legacy funds. What is the other fund? Is that part of the new funding, or is that continued part of that downtown legacy money?
Nope, the trust fund money, the W-256 is the trust fund money, and we're paying close attention to, try to utilize that funding first because it is specific to the area from which it came. So that is from the downtown trust fund, and we would be looking to utilize that first. The other money is from the new funds that just started this fiscal year, which would help cover the balance of it.
Okay.
Both out of economic development.
Then who produced the estimate on the estimate sheet?
The Public Works Department, Brian Singleton, who is the acting director.
So it's a city document.
Correct.
Okay. Member Gomez has questions.
Sarah, I have several questions. Sarah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sarah, my questions to you are regarding, for this development, I'm seeing you're requiring a few things, and you said you weren't requiring some public improvements except what's already existing. So one, I guess, would be probably for the developer or representatives of the developer, there's going to be an impact to the downtown. There's going to be a public impact. There's going to be a public impact on traffic. There's going to be a public impact on parking. And I'm seeing some parking. Can you expand or give us a scope on how they are going to help mitigate the impact to parking in the downtown and that impact, and how they plan to help mitigate that? Or is that a question for the developer? Hello?
Sarah, did you hear the question?
I did. Yeah, I was looking to see. I couldn't tell who
okay.
was on.
Okay.
So I can answer what I know. So as I mentioned, they have an agreement in the garage for parking that would handle the capacity for the entire project. But also, I don't have this number handy, but where there isn't parking, they're creating new parking and potentially reconfiguring another side to add more spaces. So they're increasing the public parking that's available and then handling their own parking in the garage.
I guess for me, Sarah, and I would like to put it on the record, is I'm hoping we're not going to expand surface parking, and we're going to look at how we can have raised parking because further surface parking, where there's already limited parking that's there now. So I'm very much interested to see how they can have parking improvements and not just expand surface parking or surface area parking, because it's already limited to downtown where it is now. And based on what you're seeing, I couldn't see this earlier, but I'm not seeing that here, Sarah. So whoever that needs to go to, I'm interested to see how they can contribute, because I know right now you're going to have competing in that hotel. You're going to have the current hotel there that's going to be competing for parking spaces, and that parking minus the southwest parking garage across Main, that parking garage is virtually full all the time. And so you're going to have two hotels down there now competing for limited parking spaces. So we're going to have some impact there. And so a project of this magnitude to include Union Street Station, a mixed-use development, you're talking about impact. And so to the developer, I guess I'm interested in hearing things of how we're going to improve raised parking and not just surface parking. That's one. The next thing I want to see, Sarah, or I would like to hear on, my question was the economic boom to the area, what they're projecting for this project. Can you give us some more numbers on what they're projecting the economic, as far as tax revenue and turn over 5 to 10 years? Return on investment?
Sarah, do you want me to mention about the parking?
That'd be cool.
Yeah, we have an arrangement.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Mike Warren. First of all, let me thank everybody from the city who's been very incredibly helpful with this project and gave us a lot of good ideas about how we can do. We're very excited about the possibility of adding, investing close to $33 million in the city and taking a parking lot and turning it into hopefully a centerpiece for activity downtown. We have arranged to have 145 parking spaces open to us for all the guests and visitors in our project in the parking garage, which is right now just across the street from Union Street Station. So there will be no demand on the city streets. Having, like Sarah indicated just a moment ago, having the street, the South Second Place one way will provide some areas, some small parking in front, but also provide areas for people to stop off and deliver and drop off things. We don't anticipate any parking. There are, I think, just a couple of spots we have behind the project, and that would be for service, like and drop off of supplies to the hotel and to the retail units that are there.
And I guess the second part of my question, I don't know if Mr. Warren can answer that. The economic impact, Mr. Warren.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Warren. Are you able to answer what the economic impact or projected return on investment for this project is going to be next 5-10 years?
I don't have those figures directly. I can tell you, obviously, there's a guest tax here. The hotel itself, 145 rooms and an average rate on the order of about $160. We believe will bring in quite a bit of guest tax to the city, as well as all the sales associated with the building. I don't have exact numbers. We know, but certainly it's and just quite honestly, right now I'm not sure what the just the real estate taxes are on that property, but it's probably on the order of about $30,000 to $40,000 or so. I think we'll be talking probably, if we base it on something like the Hampton is in, it'll be probably 10 times that, if not more.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'm gonna go by the flashing lights. Number 7, whoever that is.
That's me, Member Palmer. I guess, I don't know, when I look at this thing, I see what seems like another project that sort of developers kind of steamrolling the city without really addressing or even kind of touching base with how this is going to affect the local businesses that are around there. I mean, this is a giant hotel that, from the rumor I've heard, is going to have a pizza restaurant in it directly next to one of the more famous pizza restaurants in town. It's also creating on 2nd Street, it looks like a pretty limiting thing for the pool hall that's directly across the street from it as well. As far as I understand, I mean, maybe the developer can comment on this, but as far as I understand, there's been really no communication and no conversation with the neighboring businesses. I'm concerned about us as a CRA board funding these types of projects that aren't actually engaging the community. So I guess I'd like to ask if the developer can make some comments on what their plans are for the businesses around there and how this is going to affect them, because if we're doing right-of-way projects, there are two sides to the street. We shouldn't just be thinking about one side of the street, and I think it's pretty sad to me to see a project that only considers one side of the street on these things.
I'm not sure. Obviously, the hotel itself will bring a lot of guests and visitors downtown. The project has roughly about 16,000 square feet of retail space on the first floor. We anticipate some of that will be restaurants, obviously, but other interesting things. We think we're going to add to the business community downtown, and we think the number of guests staying in the hotel will add to the diversity as well as the overall just all the people downtown, which is good. We need to bring more people downtown. We think this will add to it. Obviously, right now it's just a vacant lot, and I don't think don't think that that is probably very conducive to having people come downtown.
I would very much tend to disagree with that. Right now, that vacant lot is one of the best parking spots in downtown Gainesville. I mean, even if people are having to pay, it's one of the best places for public parking. All of the other lots are a lot more difficult to park in. This is just something that people can park, and I mean, I know a lot of people who travel down and park right there. It's a very easy one. So, you know, it seems to me that while you may be addressing the parking need for your business, you're not addressing the parking need for the extra draw. If you add retail in there, there's not extra parking capacity created for other retail down there. There's no place for these people to park, so they're not going to come downtown. I guess that's probably more of a comment. I know this is kind of an insensitive conversation, an insensitive point to raise about this, but have you created any places for the homeless people downtown to potentially sleep at your place, or begun addressing plans for that? Because, you know, when I see this project that's going on right downtown, right across one of the biggest blights in Gainesville, a consistent homeless problem, to me it really shows that the CRA's priority is whatever developer comes to them and not trying to address things that are in the community, like real serious issues that the community has. So how, other than the broad scale activation of this area, is there any component of this that's going to actually address the serious homeless problem we have downtown?
There's a serious homeless problem in this entire community, and a lot of it is focused downtown. There's no specific component here. We do have, in addition to the hotel and the retail, the western side of the building, that would be the southwest corner of this project facing Main Street, will be 39 apartments, one-bedroom studios and/or one-bedrooms, which we believe will serve a purpose to help provide a smaller, less and more moderate cost housing for people in the area.
So I'm confused. We're putting affordable housing next to a high-end hotel? Is that what the plan is?
It's 145 rooms in a hotel, which is primarily along First Street and half of the Second Place. And then as I said, the southwest corner of the project is 39 units of studios, and mainly studios, and some one-bedroom apartments.
I mean, I do think that's a great suggestion. I think you guys really could do something to help aid the homeless population there if you'll provide either houses really cheap, or even just, you know, hotel stays for the people that are getting dropped off there. I'd love to see that. If that's included in this plan for helping have hotel stays, you know, for the people that are just getting out of prison right there, that would be a great opportunity.
We'll be part of the downtown, and hopefully, engage with other people there to help do this, but there's no specific part of this project that right now is set aside for homeless people.
Okay. Well, I'd love to see something like that eventually. And do you have how will you guys engage the neighboring businesses around you? Just to see how you may affect them.
During construction and before that.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's on mute.
We didn't hear the response.
We have, we're first of all, we're looking to reach out to various elements in the business community here, the local community, to be part of this. We're not looking to bring in change. We want to have a lot more local content in this, in the retail here. And we hope to add, as I said, we hope to add to the diversity and the experience of coming downtown Gainesville in our retail space.
I guess my concern with that is that it seems like you guys have made your plans, made your requests, are saying this one-way street is the best situation for you, but there are other small businesses that have recently been affected by COVID that, this hotel coming across the street could actually severely limit their business. So I mean, I guess that's just my comment on that. I think
That it?
yeah, that's everything for me.
All right, I'm gonna push the button and the next person flash and ask you questions. Figure out how this fancy stuff works.
Can you guys hear me? Is this, yeah, there it is. Awesome. I guess a couple pieces. One piece I mean, I didn't hear when you talked about taking 140 something parking spots out of the parking garage, what Chairperson Gundy said. I mean, that garage is full. So that's just, robbing Peter to pay Paul in my mind. The main thing I saw, parking is interesting in going through this, this 8th Ave thing with we did this community outreach. What we've heard so far, we're going to talk about this later, but the do's and don'ts, right? Under the don'ts of the summary, I'll read out loud. It's anywhere USA generic development. That seems like a check. Large standalone garage, like you said, you're taking over another one. Large national commercial chains. Like I said, I don't really see much of an upside what Gainesville's getting out of this. I just kind of mirror what everyone else is kind of seeing, which is this seems like we're just throwing a Hyatt in downtown Gainesville. So I guess that's just what I see.
Okay. Next flashing light. Where's Tim go?
Okay, thank you. My question is there any meeting space in the hotel since it's coming downtown and there isn't a hotel or any place in downtown that we can have a meeting? Do you have meeting space in the hotel is my question.
Yes, there are 3 meeting rooms in the hotel with a total of approximately 1,600 square feet. 2 of them can be combined to make a little larger space of around 1,100 square feet. The other one's smaller, and we just think there is a need for small meeting space downtown, and we will make these meetings this space available as well, not only to business operations but also to community activities coming downtown.
Okay, thank you. And you said they were how large were they?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
What's the capacity of the meeting space?
Probably anywhere from about a dozen to about 30 people.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Go to the next flashlight real quick. We have one of our members online. I will be getting to him to give him a chance to ask questions in a minute. But we're going to walk through this first. All right, number 3. Whoever's number 3.
Am I number 3?
Who's flashing?
Me.
Oh, rock and roll.
I didn't know if I was 3. Thank you, Mr.
Whoever's
Chair.
flashing.
I have just a couple brief comments. First, with respect to businesses, I think it's an established urban fact that when you add businesses in general, the existing businesses generally experience a synergistic result. The more activity we have in a given location, the better it is in general, as a generalization for local businesses. Number 2 is parking. Parking, if parking is your first instinct with respect to whether a project is good or not, then I don't think the project's going to be very good. Parking is important, but in a growing area, it turns out that surface parking is at best a placeholder for good quality urban development. I think this is a good quality urban development project. I think it provides an opportunity for a long needed infusion of economic energy that serves as an employment opportunity for a number of people, and also as a beginning, a counterbalance to what is in reality, folks. I just want to make this clear, what's going on right now in this area. The economic energy primarily is going west. Downtown has been going to seed for the last several years. There's a lot of good businesses down there. I go there a lot. But overall, it's people are leaving. And I can give you a list. This is a great opportunity for us to turn the corner on what I think is a an opportunity to provide, and as I said, an infusion of economic energy for everybody in the area, and particularly in the GCRA area. I would offer at this time, Mr. Chair, well, maybe I'll just wait if there are other comments, but I would go ahead and offer a motion. Are you willing to accept the motion at this time?
I've got 4 lights lit up. Let me get
Okay,
some
I'll
other
wait.
comments and I'll come back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, I think that's Ms. Bush.
Yes, thank you. My questions are, does this project anticipate requesting any additional public funding, either from the city, the county, the CRA?
No, no, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. My second question is this a development by right scenario? In other words, this board, the CRA, is asking or being asked to decide whether or not to provide a development agreement funding to make right-of-way improvements, but not the overall merits of the project itself, is my understanding. But is this a development by right situation, or will the developer need to proceed to the city commission, the planning board, other steps of approval where the project will be vetted more thoroughly?
I'm sorry, I had a hard time hearing you. I apologize.
Do you anticipate that this project will be reviewed by any other city commission or planning board? Or is this a development by right?
It's a development by right.
Okay, my last question is, I recall seeing an analysis of the downtown properties from several years ago. This might be for CRA staff, where the Hampton Inn was listed as one of the highest contributions to our public tax base in the entire city. Can you confirm if my memory is correct on that item?
Sarah Vidal, you are correct. I believe it was the second most valuable property in the county to North Florida Regional Medical Center. And that was first. So first in the district, you are correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right, there we go.
Is the developer in charge of scheduling the Southeast Second Place reconstruction, or is the city in charge of that?
Sarah Vidal. So we will follow the developer's timeline for construction. So we would be working with them kind of on these projects. Are you wondering?
I'm concerned about the historically busy weekends and weeks and that road being torn up, because if there's no conversation with the other local businesses there, digging it up, say like on graduation weekend, would be a very big bummer for everyone. So if there's some kind of planning that we can do to work that out to make sure it is on a slower, maybe in the summer or something like that. Maybe all of the roads being redone in the summer and not in the middle of spring.
Obviously, we would coordinate with the city on that, yes.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure the city knows what days are the busiest either, is what I'm saying.
Understood. We hear you. If this moves forward, we'll coordinate with the developer on that and also with the Public Works Department. They do have a system of sending out information about roadway closures ahead of time, but I thank you for bringing this to our attention, Jacob, and we can work with you and others to discuss the construction timeline and make sure that everyone's communicated with ahead of.
And it's with that and the utilities that will probably need to be done under the street. Because I remember a few years ago when reconstructing Main Street, it hit all the electricity in downtown, and we went out of power during graduation weekend. So if we can avoid that, that would be great. And then, is the developer aware of the noise ordinance downtown as well? Are there going to be soundproofing windows to make sure their residents are comfortable on a Friday night downtown where the noise is a little bit louder because it's a downtown area and the noise level is expected to be a little bit louder?
Yes, we're aware of that. There are a lot of improvements we're making to a normal hotel construction that would make this fit more better in there. For example, a lot more insulation is we're using a relatively new HVAC system. Instead of having individual units in every room, we're going to have a variable flow rate, a refrigerated rate system of which is more energy efficient and also doesn't have won't have 145 ugly louvers outside the building. So we're trying to take care of all those things.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Member Aberben is on remote. Did you have a comment or question?
I do, thank you. I just have actually really two comments. One, I generally don't like just repeating what other people have said, but in this case, I would like to stress that the city has, or I should say a local business has been through this before, and we've kind of seen the consequence of a lack of communication or a conflict of interest, I suppose, when construction is going on. I'm sure everybody in the room remembers Burrito Brothers. What happened to Burrito Brothers with all the local construction killed a business that had been in town for 25 years. So while I'm not trying to suggest that I think that this is a reason not to approve this, I would just like to stress the importance of that communication and some sort of mutual agreement between construction and local business owners, because it is clearly possible to kill a business just by jamming it up with construction nearby. So that's one comment. And my other comment was that regarding the discussion about dealing with the homeless people, I think that it would create a very stifling development environment if we make it incumbent upon every business owner, every developer, every builder to address the homeless issue. We can all agree that it's a major issue downtown, but to ask that every developer have some sort of plan to deal with it, I think is a big ask. So those are my two comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Jeff Lashin, go.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I wanted to follow up on some comments. I think I heard, Mr. Warren, are you the only one there with yourself, or is there anybody there on your team with you?
Staff here with me, AMJ staff.
Anthony is there with you?
Yes.
I have a question for Mr. Lyons. My question to Anthony would be this. Earlier, we were talking about the economic boom, Mr. Warren, and Mr. Lyons was here in the city when that project was built. That project, not only I think it was Ms. Bush or somebody on this dais that brought it up, that hotel in and of itself is 97 to 98% fully occupied almost every day of the year. So it contributes significantly to the economic impact of our downtown, our urban core. Secondly, my question for Mr. Lyons is going to be more about procurement, and it's also going to be about questions about diversity. Mr. Lyons, for this project, when we're going to have the developers who's involved in this, in the building, what vendors are going to be involved, and has anyone made an effort to involve minority-owned contractors, et cetera, in this project? And can anybody speak to that, as well as, because that's been a problem within the city as a whole. We talk a good game about it, but we tend to not involve. We tend to talk around it, but not about it when it comes to hiring minority-owned contractors. And I'm going to specifically and narrowly tailor what that means, because sometimes when we say minority, we'll say, well, that includes women, and when it includes women, it includes Caucasian women. So I'm going to say narrowly tailoring what that means is to the hiring of Black and brown, including veterans as well. Can anyone speak to that, please? And then I have some other follow-ups.
Yes, that will be the case. That process is ongoing right now, and there'll be reach out to lots of small minority vendors, as you just described. We also will be having Hyatt actually manage the hotel for us. We've already engaged with them to ensure through their diversity inclusion initiative that the hiring will be as such as well, working with a local nonprofit. And so that's already been taken care of as well. So most of the jobs will be tailored for in that direction as well. And I appreciate the question. It's something we haven't talked much about, but it's at the heart of what we'll be doing.
I just want to point out also too that our first hire, it would be our project supervisor, is a woman.
Okay, well, let me just, Mr. Warren and Mr. Lyons, let me just, so traditionally, and Mr. Lyons actually has a very good record, and the reason why I reached out to him on that specifically, especially when it comes to involving diverse groups of people, and especially the CRA, when he was over the CRA, has a very good record of that. And I just want to acknowledge Mr. Lyons' record and work in that department. Secondly, this city could really benefit from his expertise right now. Could we ever? Mr. Lyons, further, I want to stress something else. My colleague, Mr. Nielsen, indicated something earlier about development moving to the west. Traditionally, that's been happening for a long, long time. Sprawl has been going to the west. That's not a new phenomenon. What we've been trying to do is grow our urban core with mixed-use development. We've had some shots in the arm that have been good, but we also have examples where it's not a one-size-that-fits-all everywhere. But I think most of us are united in the board that we want to have a strong urban core. We want to have good development. We want to be good to our neighbors, our small businesses. And I've always known Mr. Lyons to be friendly and be communicative to small, medium-sized businesses and our neighbors and friends, including residential in the area. And I don't expect to see that to change. And so when Mr. Nielsen offers up his motion here in a second, I'm probably going to second that, because I think we need to have solid development. But Mr. Warren, I'm not going to address, because we can't obviously address every social norm that's going to happen, including there's always going to be something that's happening, especially whether it comes to homeless or something. All we can do is try to be good partners, neighbors and friends, and work through them together. And I'm just going to ask you and Mr. Lyons to work toward being good community partners, working with folks like Mr. Palmer and some of the other businesses in our downtown, so that we're good partners, because we need really good, strong partners. And I'm really appreciative of your efforts today, Mr. Lyons. Thank you so much, sir.
Well, thank you. You have our commitment to that. I just like to point out, there hasn't been a lot of development I think the last development in downtown was probably the Hampton Hotel. But before then, we have always been committed to downtown. The building right next to you, the Commerce Building, is one of the first major projects that AMJ did downtown. And we followed that with the Regent's Park to bring more people downtown. So I just want to tell you, I think we're proud of both of those developments, and we will be as proud of this development as well. Okay, we want to continue the quality, and we want to see the downtown grow and not just wither away. This will add a lot, not only construction jobs, but long-term jobs for many, many people in the city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I hope I'm not repeating something that was covered. I'm sorry I was late. I relied on RTS to try to attempt too many errands today. The block that this project is shown on I wanted to know if the two commercial tenants, the restaurant and the law practice, have been engaged in any level of conversation about this. This is speculative, if not. And as to homeless around the development, I know at this moment of commercial occupants on South Main Street across from Lynch Park who have been cited by the city and in jeopardy of being fined about homeless people on the public sidewalk in front of their facades. So this is a practice the city is already establishing. And I think that question needs to be considered more in light of that. Thank you.
All right, I don't have any more lights. Mr. Nielsen? Do you have a question? I mean,
No. You said those were questions. I asked you questions.
oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were making a statement. Does the developer have any comments to the answers to the question?
With regard to the two existing tenants on the northwest corner of the property, I think they have been involved, I think, in discussions previously with the site planning for this project, and they will continue to be.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nielsen?
We do have two hands up, Assistant City Manager Bowie and Jason Mitchell
I can't see him.
are virtual.
You can't see that.
I know.
All right, pick the one that goes first. Because I can't see him.
I'll unmute myself.
Ms.
Sorry, it took me a
Bowie, I
while
can
to
see
figure
you.
out how to
There
raise
you
my
go.
hand.
Good choice.
Listen, I wanted to just speak directly to the homeless conversation because it's come up a few times, and specifically because that's an area that's under my charge at the city. So I work very closely with John DeCarmine, and just for the purpose of just making sure the conversation stays on track, right? Our goal actually has been to put people near services, right? So right now we're working with John DeCarmine, who has a proposal to expand their outreach so that we can try to help as many people as possible that are furthest away from Grace and from services. Obviously, you know, the county has taken the additional step of taking their prior committed dollars to Grace to put into permanent supportive housing. So it is actually not our goal. It doesn't help anyone for people to be homeless without services and without proper shelter and all the things that they need in the downtown sector. Our goal has been quite the opposite, right? Reaching out to people who are far away from services, working with John. Hopefully we'll be able to support additional outreach teams because the goal is to get people in housing. So, you know, it's always an issue that comes up when we talk about downtown, but just for the purpose of keeping this conversation on track, and because it's come up in some of these conversations, I think it's important for you all to know that that's the position the city has taken, has been really intentional about getting people sheltered and getting them services and getting them at the facility where they can receive both.
Thank you. Mrs. Lopez, are there any other hidden hands? Can't hear you.
Joined us virtually, and he has his hand up.
Who?
Jason Mitchell.
Yes,
here he is.
thank you.
Wonderful.
I think you were speaking about me. Thank you, Tricia. Yes, my questions are directed to Mr. Warren. Mr. Warren, as the developer, do you have anybody, a part of your team that is actually with Hyatt, first of all?
No, sir. Hyatt will be managing the hotel. We have a long-term contract with them to manage the hotel, but we have nobody. I mean, we work with people in the Hyatt organization, but none of our people are specifically with Hyatt.
Okay, so my thing is that Hyatt as the business and wanting to develop a relationship with them as a community partner, I think it would be important if they have like public relations or some kind of a community department that should be at maybe these meetings to hear our concerns, to hear what issues and connections we have. I assume maybe you're acting as a liaison right now, but to actually have them in these spaces, in these meetings, I think would be very valuable. Especially to the diversity issue. I heard it on the end as Armando had recently talked about hiring contractors and small businesses and stuff, the subcontracting projects, but also in terms of hiring personnel for the hotel and all these different places, and also these retail spots for maybe Black business owners that want to get started and giving them access as well. So traditionally in this town, a lot of these positions have gone to college students, and they've been the ones that have been sought after and the ones that have pretty much landed these jobs, and they have a lot of high turnover. And as businesses move west, employment comes from the west over to the east. And so I think it's very important that if we're going to try to make a difference in a community partnership, that Hyatt has a clear message from us that these kind of issues are important, and if they have anybody in their organization that facilitate these kind of partnerships, that they should be present and start talking with us.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. That's a very good idea. Right now, our discussion with Hyatt have been in terms of really just getting a development started. I know Hyatt as a company is very committed to diversity, and we know that they have community relations. Some of the meetings will, as we go forward, as we get closer to the point where Hyatt really takes over this and runs this, we will certainly have them become involved. And I think you'll find that Hyatt is a very good community partner and will be a very good community partner here.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Warren.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more hands up? Tricia?
No more hands up.
All right. Mr. Warren.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before I make the motion, I'd just like to speak to the record. If you consider AMJ's record in this community, it's easy to connect the dots as to the quality of this project. I mentioned the Commerce Center and Regents Park and Royal Park Plaza, which, if you remember, was an old Scotty's, and look what it's there now. That's Mr. Warren's effort. So I have no doubt that this project will fall in line with the quality of those projects in the past and his commitment to the core of Gainesville, to what we're about. So with that, Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve the draft development agreement as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
I will ask if Mr. Nichol will be amenable to adding into the motion that, to make sure that they follow up on all of the things that we were asking for with respects to the diversity, et cetera, in the motion, and those commitments to be good community partners. Other than that, I'm
Yeah, that would be fine. I assume that staff would be able to package that up, all those comments.
Yes.
And respond to those.
Okay.
All right,
so we're adding, if we could add to their commitment to the diversity and the hiring of people of color in that, and veterans on, that's my second.
So I'm hearing a motion for approval with a recommendation that the commission press upon the developer to follow up on the diversity requirements that they've outlined in their packet, in their draft agreement, and as articulated by the board. We have any comment?
Could I add on top of that to coordinate with local businesses? Any
Who's this?
scheduling?
Oh,
I'm ready. To coordinate with any local businesses on any scheduling of right-of-way and potentially obstructing construction. Obstructing construction.
So we want to go back and ask the motioner to modify his motion again?
Yes, sir.
I second it.
Okay, and now I've got two lights. Let's see who's first. So I got a first and a second. All right, well, he just now came on. All right, go. So I got a first and a second. We're open for discussion. We've included coordinating with local businesses for construction activities.
All right. To me, at this phase, I see absolutely zero reason why we as the CRA should fund this. One, If we look at the total project scope, the total amount we're contributing is maybe 1%. I don't see how us contributing 1%, if we add it to this project, is going to help them in any way. I think they'd be more than capable of coming up with that money themselves. I'm sure they already have the funds available, and they're just hoping that this would go forward. I understand that this will be a huge impact to downtown. Whether or not we, as the CRA, approve this, it's still going to move forward. As it stands right now, I would not be comfortable supporting this motion because I don't know what they're planning to, how exactly they're planning to engage the diversity that we're looking for. I don't see how this meets any of the goals of really engaging the community and improving the community. If there was more information from them ahead of time, rather than hoping that they'll come back to us, then I think I'd be in support. But right now, I feel like we're just hoping that they're going to come back to us and give us a plan for how they're going to engage the local community. And when we address things like the homelessness problem, this $300,000 that we're looking to give to developers to offset the road, if we put this to the program Ms. Bowie was talking about, that $300,000 to help people could go a lot further, or probably address a lot more issues than a project that is already funded and can already go forward. So
point of information, Mr. Chair.
That's my stance.
All right. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, just to Mr. Palmer, my colleague, and his point is very well noted. I'm just going to ask for your patience in couple things. When it comes to the community engagement, when we get to the end of this, some things are probably going to clear up for you. I promise. I'm going to ask for your patience on this one. That's the first part. Second part is, let me remind you, when it comes to the funding, that this funding is coming out of the legacy fund, which I do believe Ms. Vidal was talking about earlier. My information question to staff is this, Ms. Vidal Finn or Ms. Bowie, is this a CRA project and CRA overseen project, or is there any other entities overseeing this project, i.e. CAPER or any other entity that we need to know about? Or is this completely driven and run by the CRA?
So it's Sarah Vidal. It's a developer-driven project on their property. The pieces that we're looking at as an interdepartmental team is the public right-of-way adjacent to the property on all sides. So the project is approved. The site plan is approved without any improvements to the public right-of-way. Somebody just asked about that, and it would not be improved if this partnership were not approved. So you would see the as-is conditions remain the same if the site plan was approved without that. So all this work is not being done on their property. It's in the public right-of-way for the public use.
I just want to be clear that this document with this list is public work, and they've already been approved. They could build without it.
Let me be clear. I am not trying to stand in the way of the development of the project. I just think from a conceptual where we are as a community reinvestment program, that this public right-of-way where we're asking for funds has not engaged the community about how these will affect the community. I think, maybe that's what we're supposed to be doing right now, but I think we haven't asked the businesses around whether or not they want these streets or what would actually benefit those businesses.
Okay, thank you.
Looking back over the history of large developments recently, I can recall how the standard, years ago, there was a first developer who took the city through round after round of tax breaks until finally the city commission realized, hey, these folks didn't have the money they said they were coming to begin with, they're playing us. And they got played quite a while before that happened. So I have a kind of a shell game feeling that this is just a way to just flip some money to developers to do something for them they should pay for themselves instead of those easy to criticize tax incentives. At any rate, I want to know if the changes to the pavement in Southeast First Street from 2nd Avenue set down to 2nd Place has altering that old brick gone through a discussion with the Historic Preservation Board. Thank you.
That's something Mr. Warren can answer.
I know that this is Sarah. I know that this has not gone before. I don't believe that's required. There is some curbing that needs to be preserved when it's removed because it's granite and they can use it elsewhere. And I believe the proposal from the Public Works Department was asking for the bricks to be replaced by pavers. So that is the recommendation of the Public Works Department as outlined in your backup in the cost analysis.
Okay. I have a motion to approve with putting
Roll call vote.
a lot, pardon?
Roll call vote.
Yeah, we'll get there in just a second. To make sure that we double check on the diversity as outlined in the agreement and to make sure we coordinate with our local businesses as part of construction. It's been seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
So I have 2 negative. Do you want to do a roll call vote? Pardon?
Member Mitchell voted no.
So that's three no. Do we want to do a roll call?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Member Abraven,
I'll vote nay as well.
Member Atkins Toff. Nay. Member Blunt.
No.
Member Bush.
Aye.
Member Dixon. Is absent. Member Fox.
No. No.
Member Grundy.
Aye.
Member Heidi.
Aye.
Member Merritt.
Aye.
Member Nielsen.
Aye.
Member Palmer. Chairman Pollitt.
Aye.
Hey, Trish, I don't know if you can hear me, but am I still involved in the voting process?
Since you are attending virtually and did not fill out an affidavit, then you are allowed to be here for discussion, but not for voting.
Oh, affidavit. Copy that. Thank you.
Yep, sorry about that.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, according to my tally, I have 6 ayes, 5 nays. The ayes have it.
Okay. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item we have on the agenda is the Infinity Line.
Good afternoon, Board. Dan Gill, GCRA Project Manager. Can everyone hear me okay? We're good? Okay. This item is in response to the request made at our last advisory board meeting for a status update on the Infinity Line. And just as a point of clarity, the Infinity Line is not currently overseen by any specific department and is a conceptual idea. The information attached in the backup is what staff presented back in January, which gives a breakdown of what trails are existing, what trails are in planning, and which trails are proposed. And since the Infinity Line has become a project of interest for the GCRA Advisory Board, staff met with leadership to discuss how this series of discrete projects could be addressed. At today's meeting, staff recommends the board discuss the project and determine whether the GCRA portion of the Infinity Line creates a benefit for the district, neighbors, en masse, or just a few. And does the Infinity Line create a value for the east side and move the GCRA consolidated plan forward? If the will of the advisory board is for the GCRA to move towards incorporating this conceptual project into its priorities, the GCRA will return to the board with an analysis of where the funding could come from and how it might be incorporated into the reinvestment roadmap for consideration. And so the recommendation is from the GCRA director to the GCRA advisory board, discuss the Infinity Line and provide feedback to staff. Thank you, everyone, and we are here to answer any questions.
A clarification, I was told by staff that this actually needs us to take action in order to move this to the GCRA. Is that correct?
Point of information.
I'm looking for Sarah or somebody.
Yes.
Do you need action from us directing the CRA staff to continue this project?
So in discussions with leadership, there was a request to really talk about how this fits into the overall plan and goals of the current consolidated plan. Paying special attention to, if this is a project that you all feel like would service the area at large or just a few, and then, does it begin to meet the goals of the consolidated plan? It does need to be noted that there is a specific portion of the project that is within the district and a very important piece because this is such an interagency kind of potential project. We would need to go and kind of identify the funding requirements for what's proposed and come back to you with more information if this is something that the board would like us to pursue. But we wanted to make sure that it was understood that the other parts that need to be constructed are not within the district. It's only the portion noted in the presentation.
Point of information, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead. I'll take it again.
This is where and if any of my colleagues can help me recall, Member Merritt, Member Palmer, this is where my frustration is kind of just sets in, because I do recall January and in February, I could recall, and I remember Mr. Gill, Ms. Vidal, correct me if I'm wrong, I do recall us having this discussion about the Infinity Line. I brought it up. I remember Mr. Gill succinctly when we were over there in the GRU boardroom presenting about this very issue. I asked staff to come back to us at a later date or later time to make it a synergistic project, and it just kind of seems like we are cherry picking which members and which ones are important when it comes back up here. My colleague to my left, Mr. Nielsen, asked you all to come back. You all come back from last meeting to this meeting, and you bring it back here. And I guess I'm taking some umbrage with it because when I asked for a synergistic project, it just feels like to me, you all are just like, well, we're going to cherry pick who we're going to respond to and what we do it. And I just want to understand why. And if it's not the CRA staff, I want to know where this is coming from. Because you all are saying leadership. Let's narrowly define what that means, because I know for a fact, any of you all correct me if I'm wrong, please, because I remember succinctly in January asking for you all to have a synergistic project with the Infinity Line and Waldo Road, and I know I'm not losing it. I'm not. And I'm really taking umbrage today. Can somebody help me understand this, please?
I mean, I can speak to that. I think a little bit, with the reinvestment roadmap, we worked with you all and the community to come up with that list of projects. I think the closest one, really economic development wise, is the 8th and Waldo Road improvements. Is the closest to kind of where we could participate if the Infinity Line moved forward. And I think we understand what you're saying as far as having, a transformational, I forgot the word you used, synergistic, I think.
I'll help you out. I used the term transformational and we made a motion and it was moved and it was voted on and approved that you all bring back the Infinity line to be, and not just, and it wasn't in just in scope, to be worked on along with 8th and Waldo as a transformational and synergistic project. And that was what was voted on. And you all said you all would bring that back to us. And it just seems like that's gone poof, like it never happened. And I just, I don't get it.
You'll be getting an update tonight of the 8th and Waldo Road project from Caper Department. So you'll get an update on that. I think as the scope of that project begins to be better defined and our role and how we're participating, that there is a chance for this to be exactly the type of project that you desire to see at 8th and Waldo. I think that it's important that for now we kind of focus on whether or not the board wants us to move forward on this particular segment of the Infinity line. It's going to take more research and more work. And so we want to make sure that the board understands that if this is added, we need to kind of prioritize it within our overall program. So we'd be bringing back a lot of information for you all to digest, but want you to understand that this would not, our participation in this segment would not mean that the Infinity Line project would be completed overall.
Okay. To my colleagues, listen, this is where all of us give our time up here. We come here after work, after a long, hard day, and I hate when I feel like games are being played. Our CRA staff here works hard every day. CRA, Sarah, every one of them work hard, and including, this is one of Mr. Gill's projects. I mean, let's just be very transparent. This was a project of Mr. Gill's. We talked about it. It wasn't like it wasn't magical. We've got some department that's delineating that we're having to answer to that none of us have ever talked to about. And then this is where my angst with the city manager comes forward. Because we, day after day, month after month, week after week, we come up here and we make motions and we talk about what we're supposed to do, bring about big projects coming forward, to include this one and on a major project with 8th and Waldo. And we have some department who has never talked to us and it's taken the scope of what the CRA staff does. They're not going to say it. I will say it. I'm just tired of the nonsense. So you know what? Okay, Sarah, here's the thing. We're going to talk about it. We can't pretend that I asked for it to. What is going to be the status of the project for the Infinity Line with 8th and Waldo? That encompassed the Infinity Line as well as Waldo Road. We weren't doing it as opposed or separating it out. No, we included it because at first we weren't even going to talk about it. And that's what I want to. Where is it? And I would like an answer to that. Where is this project? Or is the manager saying, you know what? It's that guy, so we're not going to talk about it. Or, we're just going to pretend. I'm tired of the games. I need an answer. I want to understand it. Because it happened.
So let me address Mr. Grundy Gomez's concern. First of all, I'm not directing the CRA staff to include or not include the Infinity Loop. You will hear when we have a discussion on 8th and Waldo, we are still trying to figure out what 8th and Waldo is going to look like, because it's more than a GCRA project. It has implications for other projects, and since I've been here, I've probably heard 20 different iterations of what 8th and Waldo needs to be, including the Infinity Loop, which is a project I actually like. So on there, but it needs to be done in connection with other projects, and it does not have a general fund source of funding. So we need to recognize that as well on there. So I think I've seen a presentation from Mr. Gill. He shared that with me several months ago. I was impressed with the thought that went into it as part of his project. But 8th and Waldo will, potentially have an impact on the Infinity Loop on there, and the Infinity Loop will potentially have an impact on 8th and Waldo, as well as other pieces within the city, because the piece in of the Infinity Loop within the CRA is a significant but small portion of the Infinity Loop project. And the Infinity Loop is going to be an expensive one. That will take years to accumulate the funding unless we get lucky to get some money out of the MTPO or some other funding source that's dedicated for that project.
So, Mr. Manager, to get some clarity, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
To get some clarity, so this project, when we talked about it back in January or February, as a synergistic project for 8th and Waldo, we included it in there at that time. So I'm not understanding the difference or the delineation here. What is different about what's being proposed now? Because now it's like it's a separate entity in and of itself and not inclusive. I get the general funding, and there's going to be multifaceted, and some of it's not within the GCRA. You got different areas. I get all that. I respect all that. But with respect to 8th and Waldo, that is in our purview. And so for that particular area, go ahead, Mr. Palmer, if you want to.
I was going to say part of 8th and Waldo is within the GCRA. And I think that needs to be, when we talk about 8th and Waldo in a few minutes, I'll call it the road between MLK and Citizens Field. That's the dividing line.
Right.
And so 8th and Waldo needs to include where MLK is and the pool and the field and the fire station headquarters and Safety City in order to accumulate enough acreage to be transformational. And all that I just mentioned is outside of the GCRA boundaries. And that's why this cannot be just a GCRA project.
Thank you.
Who we got? Mr. Nielsen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me take due credit or discredit for whatever discomfort seems to be present here. Just back up a little bit for me. It wasn't until I heard the presentation previously, was it last January, February, about the Infinity Line, that I got some sense of it. And I thought it was really interesting. I liked it. And some local citizens that are bicycle pedestrian advocates talked to me about it and said, there's a number of different parcels they think are possible to be contributed to within the GCRA. Most of it, or a lot of it, is outside and has nothing to do with our particular committee. They said it would be really positive thing to do to identify what components within the GCRA, our district, is potentially applicable, and perhaps there's some low-hanging fruit that could be done to basically stimulate or accelerate the progression of this project. So they just wanted me to put this before the board after we had a presentation to see if we could get staff to identify some of those components within the GCRA and bring it back to, if not us, to the city commission, so that they have a sense of what we're working with in terms of the potential future projects. That's it. That's as far as I know is going on with respect to this project. So it's much more informational, and I was hoping it would be less than a 10-minute discussion. We could just go forward with the idea that let's see what part of the Infinity Line would be applicable to the district, so that we could make some decisions in the future, maybe some decisions that would be quite positive and, as I said, low-hanging fruit in the near term. So that's it. That's all I was looking for, is more or less information. What can we do in the Infinity Loop in our district that we may be partners with respect to the overall project? That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so I support the concept of the Infinity Loop. I think that to deliver the vision of the Infinity Loop, I don't know that the GCRA is the board or entity that should be taking the lead on this particular project. It comes to mind, wild spaces, public places, for instance, would have this kind of charge and also more geographic scope in order to, really put some momentum behind the project. So there's also existing bike ped advisory boards and others. I don't know where they stand on this project and if this has been presented to them. But before the GCRA steps out as kind of the lead on this particular project, I would support, seeing if we could, I don't know, somehow refer this item to Wild Spaces Public Places for further analysis and to do the analysis. But I think that the concept is good, but I don't think that we're the right entity to see it to completion.
Thank you. Mr. Blount.
Yeah, I think that some components of it are definitely appropriate for us. I also asked about this some months ago and was awaiting for some follow-up. But it was the remark passed a few moments ago that we were looking at this to see if something to the effect of, is it consistent with the goals of GCRA? And if doing something that lubricates continuous and routine exchange between all the areas of our city, I mean, down to the level of cultural exchange, and that kind of action that gets rid of some of the badges and emblems of being such a segregated city. If I would hope that that's consistent with CRA, and I can see this project doing that a lot, just by facilitating movement and low-tech, low-cost movement. I mean, foot and bike as opposed to driving all over town. So I think it's very consistent. Probably the single biggest cost node in it would be the bridge that's envisioned in the model. But is Gainesville a one bridge town? We got the Helix Bridge over there on 13th by the hospital. I think we can handle another bridge. That might be the longest term part. You might need MTPO and the Public Works and Transportation Planning people of city and county government involved. It is a team effort, definitely, but some parts of it are very appropriate to CRA. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blount. All
right. Yeah, I mean, I, like everybody else, I'm generally in support of this project. I think it's a really interesting project. I would like to address one thing Mr. Gomez said. I think one of our concerns, or one of our issues, why we keep feeling like there isn't anything necessarily progressing, is that we're not setting specific action items for some of these things. Very specific, hey, here is money, let's make this happen, or let's figure out what's next. My personal opinion, I would like to push back and maybe ask some questions about what a next phase plan for this might look like, or what it might cost from Mr. Gill. Right now, I mean, I guess I'll broadcast this. Right now, I'd like to put up a motion to allocate some funds from one of our areas, maybe just the general fund, somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $30,000, so that Mr. Gill, who has done this project and has been leading this project, can take the next steps to identify who the real funding partners are, the real stakeholders, and start to actually take steps to get the Wild Spaces Public Places on board. I don't know what number, dollar amount is appropriate for that next phase plan. If you'd like to comment on that, Mr. Gill, I'd appreciate that. But that's if you have an idea of a number there, I would like to put a motion to come back with the next phase for funding partners and stakeholders, something a little more concrete for us to take action on.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Palmer. I don't feel I'm in a position to, I guess, make decisions on what the next phases would be. One of the lines currently right now are under the planning phases. And when I say one line, let's just, there are 6 in total. 3 of them are existing and 1 of them is in planning with Wild Spaces Public Places. And so the logistics of what it would take to complete the Northeast 16th Avenue Trail and on the North Loop and Wetlands Preserve proposed trail on the Southern Loop would take, I believe, some planning and coordination on our end. But again, I to discuss what the next phase is and put a dollar amount to that, I don't feel just adequate to be able to answer that. I would have to defer to leadership for that.
Okay, I guess, would leadership be able to speak to that? I guess, I'm assuming you're talking CRA leadership.
Or city manager or...
Okay. Well, I mean, I still would be in support of saying something like,
We don't know if he needs any money, actually.
Huh?
He may not need any money.
Yeah, which I'm sort of pulling that, I guess I'm pulling that, either pulling that number down, but I know it's gonna take time and effort and some work to research. Maybe you need, I don't know, additional people to, help figure out who actually our stakeholders are. I mean, if we're gonna, to me, this sounds like something, the way this conversation is going is either we need to basically decide that there is a real next step for this, or I think this is where it kind of goes to, not goes to die, but kind of if we don't take an actionable step on it for us, I don't know what ever happens with this project.
Could I ask if staff has the ability to come back to this group, show us the overall Infinity Trail project in its full scope? We haven't seen it since January, and even then it wasn't full. And then to show us the but-for pieces that happen to live within our district that we might be able to contribute to. Because frankly, I don't have an idea.
Chair, I would direct you to a map in the presentation that was given in January.
Which we don't have.
Yes, there is a map. I can't recall which slide it is, but it is on the left-hand side, and it shows the GCRA district delineated in yellow, and the red, yellow trails that lie within it, which would be the 6th Street Rails to Trails and the Aldo Road Rails to Trails. And then in that northern loop, if you look at thank you. Oh, wow, this is great. Thank you so much.
I guess we're asking for what's the current status of all that? Who's funding what? Who are the other components or the other entities that are funding each of those portions of the trail? And how does our part fit into that?
I think I might be able to fix this. Mr. Chair. So I agree with Mr. Palmer. So to stop the madness, because right now there's so many moving parts, and I think right now, Mr. Gill I've seen the project, but I'm only interested with what affects us in our budget and what's in our purview. What affects the other areas is not in our purview. That should come under general fund. So I'm happy. I agree with Ms. Bush that we should make a referral to Wild Spaces Public Places. I would ask Ms. Bush if she would be amenable to the part of anything that would be within our purview of GCRA, that we should maybe look at that as far as funding. But anything else, I want to look at taking this particular project of the Infinity Loop, referring it to Wild Spaces Public Places and general government for the funding outside of that. And I will move that as a recommendation to move this project forward.
So we have a motion to refer the portion of this presentation on the Infinity line to Wild Spaces Public Places.
Outside of what's in our purview of the GCRA.
Say it again. I can't hear you.
Okay, Mr. Chair, so I'll restate the motion.
Thank you.
I move that we refer the Infinity line project to Wild Spaces Public Places, with the exception of the areas that are in the GCRA in scope and funding to fund.
And then we also have a presentation around what it looks like to move forward within our.
Sure, and yes, and you want me to restate it?
Yeah, they do the whole thing.
All right, Jason, state yours real quick, please.
I'm just saying what everyone else was saying around having a presentation around what it actually means to move forward with this within the GCRA area as opposed to what the project is, seeing as we already saw this presentation in January.
All right. So, Mr. Chair, I move that we refer the infinity line to wild spaces, public places, and general government, with the exception of the areas that are to be funded or affect the areas of the GCRA, and for staff to bring back a presentation of only the infinity line in the areas of the GCRA and nothing else. With specific funding.
Okay.
And that's my motion.
Second.
And we have a second. Okay, discussion.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the spirit of that motion. That's in general the direction I was hoping we'd go. Just a fine point here. I wouldn't exclude, the way it was worded, I wouldn't exclude wild spaces with respect to funding within our district. We could partner with them. I'm always looking to get partnerships. So in other words, in your motion to get the wild spaces, public places to delineate what's going, or the motion basically is putting that part in their lap. But the part that is in our district, we identify those projects, and then hopefully we can get them included in supporting even what's in the district. And then if possible, we might want to partner with them. It's just an option. I just want to see what's on the table. That's all I'm asking.
The spirit of the motion, Mr. Nielsen, is I included not just, it's a referral to wild spaces, public places, and general government. So
Yeah.
like you, I'm not, that general government leaves any and all funding on the table. But I'm happy to be inclusive in the motion, and that's fine.
We're there, I think.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, I'd just like to just touch base on with Mr. Gill on this and just make sure that, since this is his capstone project, that the motion that's on the table is something that works for this project, and he thinks it's something that could progress it.
He can.
I would say I think it does. Yeah,
Okay.
It's hard to speak to that.
Yeah, I understand. It's kind of a weird spot. I just don't want to. My concern is I just don't want to get this. We've got a lot of energy and we've got a lot of excitement about this project. I just don't want to, us to just dump something on you that's not feasible for you to continue to keep championing for us.
I appreciate your concern and thank you for considering how I'm feeling about it. I appreciate that.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and Mr. Grundy.
Mr. Gill, I want to really thank you for actually not just you and all of staff's hard work on this project, because it's been a very team effort. Sarah, everybody's worked hard on this. It has been a real team effort. They've worked really hard to bring this to fruition. So thank you to all of the CRA staff on this. Call motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And we need a roll call from Mr. Abravan. Is that correct? Abravan, excuse me.
Yeah. Aye.
All right, motion carries. Whew. Next item is 8th and Waldo project update.
We did have a public comment on the last item.
Oh, sorry about that.
Sorry, Mr. Espinosa, are you still there? He's had his hand up for a while, so I'm not sure if he's stepped away.
Guess he's not there?
Is Mr. Espinosa? It doesn't look like it. Sorry.
All right, we'll move to the next item, which is 8th and Waldo project update.
Good evening, everybody. This is Sarit Sela, a city architect with Caper here to give you an update about 8th and Waldo. I will share my screen with you. Just a second, please. Okay, can you see? Can you see the slide? Can you hear me well?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So last time we came in front of you for an 8 and Waldo update was January of 2020, which seems like decades ago, but it's only a few months from now. And so I would like to start today with a recap about the project, where we've been until now, how we see the stakeholders and engagement, what we have heard so far, and then how are we proposing to move forward. So the site that we are talking about is about 36 acres of city-owned land at the northwest quadrant of the Waldo and 8th and Waldo 8th Avenue intersection. It is composed of a variety of city amenities, from fire station to stadium, to a pool, to a park, to Safety City and GFR administration offices and MLK. And within that, there are a variety of stakeholders on site and a variety of stakeholders around the site. And we're going to discuss that a little more in detail later. A portion of the site is within the CRA area. It is east of Northeast 14th that turns into Northeast 15th Street. So we can see that in this turquoise, it's about 8 acres. In 2018, staff started to identify this area as a potential economic development catalyst for East Gainesville. At that time, the county was looking to relocate the fairgrounds and indoor arena project. This was one of the projects, the sites that were suggested for that use, but was not selected. In January 2020, we came back to you with, and also had one-on-one meetings with the city commissioners, with a similar plan to what we had in 2018, but instead of an indoor arena or fairgrounds, we were suggesting a conference center and garage. And I will show you the slide of what was proposed in a second. The response, both from you and from the neighbors who attended the meeting and for the commissioners, was very mixed, and we will talk about that too. And then we're now, very recently, Caper started to look again at the site and did some due diligence, which I would like to present to you today, and to move forward. So this is what we presented in 2020 in January. The idea here is to have a signature. Can you see my arrow when I move it? When I scroll it?
Can you make that bigger, please?
I wish I knew how. Let me see. Is that bigger?
This is the thing we couldn't get on today with Legistar, right?
Is that something that you can see? Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So what we have here in the orange in the center, there is a signature public space that ties together a variety of uses, from the reconstructed stadium. That is what we suggested in January, okay? Reconstruction of the stadium, and then a new conference center to the south of it to replace fire station number 3. And then to replace Safety City and the GFR administration area, a parking garage, and a wrap of commercial and mixed use, including perhaps the senior services and public services, and then an expansion of the MLK Center and improved pool and park amenities. And I will, as we move forward in this presentation, we will go back to that and to the different input that was received, okay? So let's start with a little bit of an analysis of the site in terms of stakeholders. On site, we have a variety of users and stakeholders. First of all, the CRA, as we mentioned, east of Northeast 14th Street. Then we have much land and many amenities that are earmarked for wild spaces, public places projects. So about 26 acres out of the 36 are within that list, including the stadium, the MLK multi-purpose center, the pool, and the park. Further, we have an area of about 6 acres that has been leased to the School Board of Alachua County for their league, and that lease of 40 years is terminating in 4 years, in 2024. So that is the dark blue rectangle here. Then we have the properties that are being used by GFR, including their administration offices and training, fire station number 3, and the Kiwanis Safety City. And then we have the public right-of-way that is managed by Public Works, and then buildings that are managed by Facilities, which is a division of Public Works, and the Kiwanis partnership with GFR. When we look outside of the site, we see also a variety of stakeholders. First of all, and most of all, is residential. So the site is surrounded by a variety of neighborhoods all around. Along the Waldo Road, we have more commercial presence. So from the VFW to the Ace Cash Express to the Trimark's properties, RE Reserve, and other landlords around here. We have smaller and businesses that are just around, and we have Walmart up the street. And we also have you as a stakeholder, and we have FDOT. When we zoom out even more, we see greater context and greater potential for partnerships and for impact. So along Wilder Road, we have 2 presence of UF. We have the East Campus at, I believe, 23rd and Wilder Road. And then we have the UF East Clinic to the south of the street of Waldo. We have 3 schools that are within I would say bike ride distance. 2 of them are getting a major reconstruction, the elementary school and middle school to the north of our site. We also have the Duval Early Learning School just east of our site. We also have the Takachali campus, which is a very large land just to the north of us. And we have a small presence of the Alachua County Library District that just opened maybe 3 years ago, a nice library up here. So all of these are potential stakeholders, potential partnerships. Other potential local institution partners may be Alachua County, of course, for tourist development, economic development, and East Gainesville. The Elder Care of Alachua County, Alachua Habitat of Humanity, Department of Health of Alachua, and UF Academic Health Center and Santa Fe College. There might be more, and the list is open. So we have not had any project targeted engagement outside yet. We did present it, however, to public forums like the GCRA Advisory Board, City Commission and County Commission discussed that. And we also have indirect data that was collected, for example, for the GCRA 10-year reinvestment plan. So surveys that talked about East Gainesville more in general. So what can we learn and take from the input that has been, that is available to us, okay? So from the City and County Commission discussions, there were discussions about, and I can make this a little bigger, about a partnership between the city and the county and a private investment, about using Tourist Development Council money, GCRA and Wild Spaces funds. There is a desire to create an attractive indoor-outdoor destination, fun, multi-purpose, multi-age, we were advised to look at smaller, cost-effective programs rather than one large use program. And that came up in the discussions on the arena and the conference center. Job opportunities, career training, senior center. The idea of senior center came up multiple times. Services for the youth, a place to go, a place to be. And then the other components of mixed use, residential, services, and the greater need to have to bridge a gap of health services and other social services and some stores in East Gainesville. Also, the wish to enhance the recreation offering. This is a unique opportunity that we have here on this site, and ideas like a professional skate park and other attractions came up. Okay. From the discussion we had with you in January and with a variety of neighbors that came as participants to this meeting, we can learn that—
Point of information.
Sorry?
Point of information, Sarit. You keep saying we. You said we had conversations. Who is we?
We is in general.
General
This is, for
who?
example, the project team. So we have heard so far from the advisory board. I came to you in January, and many of us were there. It was the forum.
Okay, we'll come back to that in a second. Okay.
Okay. So the wish to complement the existing character of the site and around. So the residential and the recreation mostly, and to add on health and fitness and recreation uses. Economic growth, serve the local residents, use small programs, small footprint development rather than large footprint. Bring in local businesses, ideas such as an urgent care center, health department satellite, and or social services, and to connect it to the area. And then to really think through a larger scope, how does a redevelopment in East Gainesville work together? And then this is my understanding from reviewing the surveys of that were collected by the 10-year plan community outreach. So it's a combination of paper surveys and online surveys. What are the most important design considerations for the East Side development? So top ranked was economic development and innovation, then commercial activity and housing, and then other priorities were urban form, sense of community, improved infrastructure, funding, financing, management and promotion, sustainability of the health of the community. More, and as I mentioned before, these are general comments that were about the former East Side district, not specifically for this project. So what do people like in East Gainesville? The natural ambience, the natural beauty, the authentic old Gainesville feel, history and community. And what are needed is affordable housing, a strong wish to prevent gentrification, to provide for the elderly, to provide health amenities, small businesses, activate the area, improve the infrastructure, and more. So if I take all of that information and kind of merge it and condense it to do and don'ts. So the don'ts, the way that the way that it reads to me is that there is a wish not to have an anywhere USA generic development. Do not gentrify. Protect the community. Use smaller local business programs. Complement the existing character of the communities, and provide the different needs in social services, in health services, in recreation, and create a place that is fun for everybody, all ages, the youth, the seniors, that is artsy, that is a fun play and playful play to be, enhance connectivity, bring a variety of programs to activate the site throughout the week and day and night, and complement other city initiatives in East Gainesville. So with that, this portion is due diligence that was done in-house in the last month or so, and I would like to present that to you. So, okay, just what they do. So the existing uses on site include a variety of safety functions, education, health and wellness, recreation and fitness, offices, and with a lot of overlap, okay? So recreation and health and education overlap one another. Safety and health and wellness overlap in some senses. And it is already an old age destination. Sorry, trying to maximize it again. So the proposed, when I look at the site, I would like to suggest that the Citizens Field Park, the pool, and the Martin Luther King Multipurpose Center are all well used by the neighborhoods. They're all in relatively good condition. They promote health and wellness that benefit neighbors from all ages from the immediate area and beyond. They're all earmarked for Wild Spaces Fund and could be improved. They have great potential, and I would like to suggest them as anchors. When looking at the site, there is the Citizen Field Stadium. It was built in 1948, many years ago, and when we compare it to other stadiums nowadays, it does not meet current industry standards. To bring it up to current standards, it would require a great investment, probably reconstruction. And as I mentioned before, it is leased to the school board of Alachua County till 2024, and it is used regionally by the school board. Thus, the location may be flexible if we were to relocate it, to consider a relocation, because people use buses to come to here from different areas of the county. And with thinking about the input that was received, the stakeholders, many stakeholders prefer smaller rather than larger uses on site. We may think about relocation of this stadium. So potential stadium relocation would free up to 6.5 acres for redevelopment. If this is a direction that stakeholders are interested in, we will study potential relocation sites. And of course, we're going to coordinate and discuss with the school board. We already have a meeting scheduled, I believe, by the end of this month or early next month to discuss this idea. The next area is the fire amenities. We have fire station number 3, the administration complex, and safety city. The administration complex and fire station number 3 are in very poor conditions, and they are due for replacement. GFR is about to kick off a master plan for their facilities, and they will detail facility needs and desired future locations. We already started to talk with GFR and to learn about their needs. But from their perspective, these amenities are due a replacement. If we were to relocate these amenities off-site, it would free up about 6 acres for redevelopment. That's it. And then the next one. So what were the ideas that were discussed before? What can we learn from them? What was positive in the responses so far? What was not? So in all of these schemes, there is concepts, there is a main public space that kind of is the glue and the character of that area. I think that mostly, and I think that stakeholders were in favor of that. Also, maintaining and improving recreation amenities was a strong side of these proposals. Relocating GFR facilities off-site was in the picture from the beginning of the discussions. Large anchor program uses were sports arena, conference cultural center, reconstruction of the stadium, garage. This had more kind of a mix of emotions that came up, and then complementary mixed use. So taking this into account and the analysis that I provided before, I'm thinking, okay, how about we take the portions that so far have been accepted positively, and we build on that. So we build on the signature public space and connectivity, including connectivity to the schools. We maintain and improve the recreation amenities, and we relocate GFR facilities off-site, which opens up these sites. How about we also consider relocation of the stadium off-site, which opens up much more land. And then instead of suggesting a large use, we look into smaller, diverse uses that complement the site and the surrounding community needs. For example, housing, health and social services, retail, recreation, and entertainment. So when I put all of these ideas together, this is kind of a very preliminary diagram that shows the number one, the pink, is mixed income and senior housing. It is the further from Water Road, and it is close to the, this one is close to the park, and this one would become, also will get its privacy. And then number twos are health and social services, small businesses per community needs. So it could be a wide variety of things, and that would depend on the input that we receive from stakeholders and potential partnerships. And then recreation and entertainment amenities are the number three, and the peach color, and they would complement the MLK Center and the pool. And this could be, again, a wide variety of ideas, from a roller skate venue to bowling alley or anything else that the community wants and that we find partners to have to work on. We could improve the skate park, make it more attractive. We could include a new dog park, many different ideas, and of course, and then improved pool and maybe expanded recreation center at MLK. And this is based on future engagement and future input that we will receive. These are just ideas. And then the signature public space, which would be the glue, tie the activities, provide for a place for an outdoor events, and enhance the sense of place. And the light green are potential bike lane or boulevards, a variety of branding amenities that would connect to the schools, to Howard Bishop, to Metcalf, and to the Smoky Bear Park to the north, and to the early learning school and Reserve Park. So moving forward. Last month, we presented this and discussed this in-house, and said, okay, these are nice ideas. The first thing that we need to do is engage the community to explore if there is, to ground truth, the input that previously was collected, and to see what are the desires for the uses on the site. As I mentioned, there was never like a targeted community engagement for the site. And then we talked about talking with our partners, the school board, and see what kind of lessons can we learn from comparable redevelopment case studies? What can we see and learn from that? And of course, talk with GFR, and maybe even how can we improve and that goes back to the infinity loop, how can we improve the 8th and Waldo Road in the intersection? So the next steps are a cross-departmental collaboration. As I mentioned, many departments are involved in that, and we're going to have our kickoff about a month from today in mid-December. We're going to have a project team, and we will coordinate also the different efforts in Northeast area. And then the stakeholder engagement. So there is in your backup a draft engagement plan. I can actually shift to it. And Ann Wolf with communications can also discuss that if Ann wants, or we can start with general discussion. And but the general idea of this engagement plan is to hire some local people to help us engage, and which is a little different than what we did before. So they are called community connectors, and Anne can for sure talk a little more about that. And our idea is to go to a wide stakeholder group and to get information from them, input. I will let you all discuss, and I'll be here for any questions.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. We do have Member Lighton, Member Rena Gomez.
Okay, colleagues, I give me a second. Where to begin? When we started this, our GCRA, we started off. When we first started the genesis of this board was to come together and bridge 15 different boards into one board. It's a pretty large task, and not to be divided, to be united. To be united on a common vision that is dedicated and committed to addressing urban blight, addressing many communities have traditionally been left out of the fray. We stated, and the city manager came before us. We remember this too. When he said, "I've been here 100 days." We remember that, right? He said, do you want to go big or do you want to go smaller projects? And we all said, most of us, I'm not going to say all of us, most of us said we wanted to go big. Folks, this ain't going big. When I have said before that we have talked about throughout time, this city has a history of going small. They proved it once again on where we're going small. We say we want to go big. The manager came to us 100 days in. "Hey, folks, I'm brand new. I just got here. I want to go big or go home." You're from South Florida, Mr. Manager. You know what? I had hope. I don't have hope. And this is what I don't have hope about. Let's peel back this onion some more. First of all, Caper, have y'all heard of them? They have no budget. Who's paying for this? Number one. Number two is the delineation of what this board was comprised of for 15 boards. There is an interlocal agreement between across the street of the county and between the city commission to establish us as a 15-member board. Last week, we had a meeting where the manager was saying maybe we should go back to smaller body. There should be different, smaller groups. I don't think that I'm interested in that. Number two, further, what I'm not interested in is this idea of where we lack commitment to the people that we're talking about. Let's not mix words. This is people that look like Evelyn, that look like Kali, that look like me, and that look like Chris. And traditionally, we have been left out of the fray. There are people that are sitting out in the audience right now that have been a part of this discussion. My angst, whoever's phone is going off? Okay, all right. My angst with this entire thing is this has been a common play. It's the shell game. And I'm tired of the shell game. I'm tired of the games. So you know what? Okay, let's just look for it because I made some notes here. I think the biggest challenge is who is paying for this when it comes to these next steps, because Caper is taking on the duties that are delineated per the GCRA and their local agreement are to the GCRA. How is an office, it's not a department, it's an office of people that have no accountability. They don't come to us. We don't talk to them. This is the first time we've talked to Caper. The first time. Congratulations. We have a guy that's overseeing it. No, and this is not an aspersion at Dr. Eric Bredfeld, but Dr. Eric Bredfeld was over economic development. And let's look at his record when it came to economic development. I'm not going to mix words here. We have had a community that has been traditionally left out of the fray, and we're tired of it. This is the nonsense we get. And I've been saying, well, let's go big or go home. This is not imaginative. Mr. Palmer, let's travel down Southwest 2nd, shall we? We saw Innovation Square. That's given us our best. Sarit knows that. I know that. I saw Sarit's plan 2 years ago when myself, Mr. Henry, Mr. Fleming, and some others, when we sat down with them. And the only thing we can do is put a facade on Citizens Field. Give me a break. Spare me, please. This is nonsense. And to sit up here and act like we're doing something because we're going to put senior housing and we're going to put, because that's part of our values. That's part of what other departments within the city can do. We have a housing department to address housing. We are still not addressing the biggest need that people of color in this community want is economic development. And I'm not saying it's a be-all and we have all the answers, but an office that is not accountable to anybody, which this manager has shoved down the throats of not only the city commission, but has pulled the woodwink over our eyes, is a bunch of nonsense. And I'm sorry that I am passionate about it, folks, but I'm tired of being lied to. I feel like we have a pathological liar who is telling nothing but lies, and I'm tired of it. And it is enough. And so you know what? Sarit, if you could go back to the slide where it says design principles for former concepts, please, if we could pull that up, because we actually had a discussion. We had a discussion about where we were going to go. And I'm sorry, I apologize to members of the audience. I apologize to Mr. Fleming, and I apologize to Mr. Henry. But this was not what we expected. This is not our best. Folks, if you can honestly look me in the eye and tell me that this is our best, what we had in the principle to the far left, and you look in that packet, that's our best. You have a landowner and Mr. Fleming saying, I'm willing to help give acreage with skin in the game to give our best, to come up with a fine product. When Mr. Fleming, who is a developer, builds product, he doesn't half do it. He doesn't build a building and say, I'm just going to put up a facade and make it look half good. No. If we go down Southwest 2nd Avenue and we compare and contrast what CRA projects have done and then what we're getting over here, we're getting crumbs. We have $70 million over 10 years, and you're telling me this is the best we can do with a 71-year-old football stadium? I think not. This is not our best. This is nonsense. Mr. Manager, this project can kick rocks. And you know what? I don't care if this is what you all feel is the best. We said that as a board, we wanted to go big. And that's why I wanted to narrowly define it. Mr. Palmer, you called it earlier when you said you wanted us to start narrowly defining the project and how we spend the dollars. Let's start doing that, because we're going to be nickel and dime until we start doing it. And we have an office with no daggone budget that's going to continue to nickel and dime and go to the city commission and say, hey, we all supported unanimously, we voted for it, when in fact we didn't. And we wonder why the staff keeps coming back last minute. It's not the GCRA staff, it's Caper. Caper is coming, a bunch of office folks who are not accountable to us. Not that they're accountable to us anyway, they're accountable to the manager. This is another level of bureaucracy that's not part of the interlocal agreement. And I get it, Mr. Manager, this is not fitting your narrative, I get it. But you know what, sir? I am just tired of the nonsense. And I have tried to say, you know what, let's work through this. Let's really have big projects. But time and time again, we have seen we don't want to do this project, and yet it comes back. And then it goes to the city commission, and they're all bamboozled and say, yeah, we all supported it. No, we didn't. We didn't even want a paint program. We told them that. and it came back. But magically, last meeting, we got, well, we're doing, and then we get this crap. We get this. This is our best. Is it? I mean, I get that there's a lot of feel-good projects, and I know, and this might make some of you uncomfortable, I get that there's going to be heartstrings here when it comes to senior housing, and there are things that are going to establish socioeconomic norms where people need housing. I get it. Don't think that I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I came from a single-parent home. I know what it's like to be homeless. I know what it's like to be poor. And most of the people that live in my community, my friends and neighbors in Lincoln Heights, know what it's like to be poor. I live up the street from Evelyn. I live right up the street. We know that, don't we? This is not our best. I'm simply asking us as a board that we can give our best. I don't want to take us, this is not about Sarit or Dr. Bredfeld or even the manager, really. This is about we establish a norm and we start changing the narrative. This is not our best. We as a board, we've seen our best when we actually work together and collaborate. And we've seen that from even when we've seen it from Sarah, we've seen it from Deborah Bowie. We have seen their best. As of late, have we seen their best? I don't think we've seen that. And we're wondering why. Well, this is why. This is why. They won't tell you, but I'm going to tell you. This is why. And so you know what? It's fine. It's fine. Because you know what? It's time to start speaking truth to power. And maybe somebody else won't do it. Maybe he'll take somebody else out to lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, or brunch. I don't care. Maybe he'll meet with you individually. I don't care. What I do care about is that we collaborate and negotiate and work together for the betterment of this community. I'm not here to be a rubber stamp for anybody. I'm not here to be liked. I was put on here just like all of us, and all of us work well together as a board. We don't always agree, but we work together as a united board. We may not move fast, but we work very deliberative, and we have very intelligent people on this board. I trust everyone on this board to do a great job. I am confident in that. I don't need us to be broken up. I want us to be united. Maybe we have to go a little bit longer to get there, and we have to stretch some things out, but this is not it. And I'm sorry to belabor the point, but you know what, and I'm sure the manager will give his yada, 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 blah, 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 crap, 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 whatever. That's fine. But I'm going to tell you, when the rubber meets the road, I have spoken the truth, and we can lay it out on the table. I'm going to tell you what they're not going to tell you. Because you know what? And if we need to have the receipts, we can have the receipts too, because I have plenty of receipts to prove it. So we can come on with it if you want to call out my integrity, sir. I digress. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Member Grundy Gomez. I'm not sure if the CRA staff or city management wants to address anything before we move on to other member comments.
So I would like to. So one of the, and I'll go back to, the line, the road on there. Not all of this is within the GCRA boundary. And maybe the recommendation of the advisory board is to move the line so that we can devote more of the $70 million to this. I do like to go big, okay, and I would like a transformational project. But one of the things I do recognize is that we have to listen to everybody, and we're getting input from others, including the commission, on what they would like to see at 8th and Waldo. So if the board has a different idea, okay, and if the board collectively wants to do something else there, I think it's important for the board to say that, and the board to suggest what can go there. And if it's going to be on the west side of the road, give us some suggestions as to where the dollars are going to come from to do that. Because in addition to developing everything, I still have to relocate a fire station, still have to relocate the GFR administration on there, and that's not going to come cheap either. So I'm interested in going big. Okay, I would like to hear from the rest of the board as to what your concepts are and your thoughts are about what should go there, because the board is 15 people, and I guarantee you that there are at least 15 different opinions as to what needs to go there. And getting consensus not only between the board but the other stakeholders in the area is not an easy task. And I understand Mr. Grundy Gomez's frustration. You know, I'd like to be able to snap my fingers, draw a picture, and make things happen. But what I heard going through the GCRA plan is that a lot of people have a lot of ideas on how that $70 million needs to be spent over the next coming years. And if you remember, when I spoke to the group in January and February, I talked about the need of recognizing, do we fund this all at once, or do we do this as we go along? And I believe the board's consensus at that point was do this as you go along, which inherently is different than going big in the beginning. So, you know, I'm interested in hearing the board's discussion. That's why I'm here today. On there, the board needs to ultimately be you know, make recommendations. And again, you know, not all of this is within the GCRA's boundary, and we can't spend money outside of the boundary on there. And so, you know, I'm interested to hear, you know, the board's perceptions on how to deal with that issue as well.
Point of information.
Okay, if you have a quick follow-up, member.
Two things. Number one, we can't change the boundary without going back to the county and changing the interlocal agreement. That's one. Number two, if I'm all for understanding, there's no one party that includes all of this projects. There's no one party. And we, as a body, I do agree with the manager in scope that we need to talk about what we want to do in scope and we want to get there. We said we wanted to go big, and we didn't want to do piecemeal. We didn't say that. So I'll come back after listening to y'all, but don't mistake my passion and misunderstand that my comments, and I don't have a direction of where we want to go. I just remain open. And like you, I want us to have tangible things that we can do that are within our purview. This is not something new. We're not neophytes at this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe the next member that had their light on was Member Palmer. Yeah. I apologize to my fellow members. This is my first attempt at being chair of any public board, so thank you for hanging in there.
Thank you. I guess to address some of this, I obviously have come from a different background than Mr. Gomez. However, I recognize where some of the passion that he is bringing up comes from. I want to certainly acknowledge that, and, you know, I don't know, say that I hear that. When I look at this, I do tend to echo some of the points that he brought up in it. That, you know, when I look at something like this, I think it's a good start in the right direction, but I am very, very concerned about future-proofing a project like this. I mean, a roller skating rink, I don't know how many people really, as fun as that would be, I don't know how many people are really using that. You know, I mean, I'm not gonna push this point, but even football is kind of dying out as a sport. I know for the East Side community, it can be it's a very, very important sport. But you know, one of the conversations that I've heard before, and I'd like to, I guess, ask as far as either a follow-up or something like that, is to start thinking about what it would take to future-proof this. And I know we're spending a lot of time talking, probably, you know, when we start to have these discussions about what to do next, that we might spend a lot of time talking to the adult communities that are here and looking for, obviously, senior housing is something that I think we desperately need in Gainesville. But I think we also need to spend a bit more time talking to younger kids in these areas. Because, you know, without their buy-in, without the future-proofing portions of this, then who's gonna be excited about this? So, you know, one thing I'd like to see, and one note that I'd like to see for something like this, it doesn't take up a ton of space, but I'd love to see some information on esports, some sort of an esports arena. I mean, I know nowadays that, you know, we've got a lot of outdoor recreation, but esports is a viable sport, is a viable money generator now. You can make as much playing esports as you can play golf. That might be something that would be both a dual purpose thing where we could get kids education that is going to be future proofed while also providing recreation in a relatively safe environment. So I don't know if we're to the point to where I'd like to make a motion. I'm sorry, Mr. Gomez stepped out, but you know, to me, the biggest thing of how we move forward and how we take these types of projects and turn them from just these good ideas into something more is to start spending money. We've got to start spending money somewhere, doing these research projects. As of right now, it looks like basically the fiscal note on here is the fiscal note says that they're estimating $4,000 to do some community outreach, to use 3 community cultivators. I don't know that I have, I'd like to ask, have we identified the community cultivators yet? Who people like that might be?
Not yet.
Not
yet. We will start. We have not done any step beyond what has been presented to you, and Ann Wolf is here and she can talk to that point a little more.
Yep, and Member Palmer, related to your question about a motion, can I come back to you for a motion after we've heard from some other members? Okay.
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna ask some questions kind of just for the sake of kind of clarifying what my motion would specifically be, but so we haven't figured out community cultivators. Those are people within the community. Yeah, okay. I think I've asked kind of everything that I'd like to before I put forward a motion on something like this. So.
Okay, thank you. We'll definitely come back to you for that motion. Member Blunt?
I'd like to find out about the meetings with Paper and the manager's office and economic development that went into putting together this presentation we've just had. How many of those meetings included participation by community leaders? And I'm thinking of people like Mr. and Mrs. Miles and Warren McClooney, people who organize over in Duval and in Cedar Grove.
Okay. We had one internal meeting on that, very limited, in October. The presentation, the due diligence that I presented to you was my preparation to this internal meeting. And sorry?
I'm sorry. The city manager is here at the podium and he was responding to the question. I'm sorry. Mr. Manager?
So the meetings that we've had at this point are internal, and that's why we need to start the next piece of community engagement. Because the one thing that we've heard, I mean, we've heard from several board members, we've heard from the city commission, we've had those outreach meetings in the beginning that talked about, you know, the input that Ms. Sela went through, but we have not had community engagement yet as to what this project needs to look like. And that's the purpose of what we're here for today, is to seek permission to spend some dollars. I think it's $4,000 to go through our, what we call our reverse consulting, which is community cultivators, where we hire people from the community to go into the community to provide us that feedback on there so that we can assemble that too. We're not coming here today and saying this is the plan, okay? And I need to be very clear about that, okay? We don't have a plan. We have a broad concept. And if the board wants to look at a different concept, please tell us as a board that that's what you want to do. That's why we're here. But we also need to be able to reach out to the community and get their input on there, and that's why we're looking at the reverse consulting role on there, and not only for this project, but for other projects all throughout the city. Let me just address again, because this has come up now 3 times this evening. Caper's not a brand-new group. They are 3 employees of the city, 3 community builders that have been here for a while, that are now coming into a role where they can collaborate. We have Mr. Bradfeld, we have Ms. Sela, and we have Kara Breckens, who's our right-of-way coordinator who is in Public Works. And they're now in an office that basically helps us coordinate the efforts between departments. And this is a great example. As Ms. Sela pointed out, this is an effort, 8th and Waldo's, the GCRA department, it's the Public Works department, it's Parks and Recreation, it's the fire department, it's wild spaces, public places, it's facilities. Those are all different entities, and they need coordination if we're going to pull off a project of whatever that project is out there. And so we've created an entity within the city. We didn't have to spend any more money than we were already spending. We took 3 people and we put them together so that they can collaborate. And so that we don't do things like rip up roads that we just repaved. Okay, and that's ultimately my responsibility, to make sure that we have coordinated efforts. And the GCRA is a department now. We've lost a lot of the power that we had under the state statute because we dissolved the CRA. It is a department now. It has 2 revenue sources that come in. It has the revenue source from the city, and it has the revenue source from the county, and it goes into a special fund, and we can only spend those monies in support of the plan that you all recommended and the commission adopted, that we transmitted to the county. And yes, we can change the line. We do need to go to the county, okay? And it's not going to cost them any more money to move the line, okay? It doesn't like increase their contribution, because their contribution is fixed for 10 years. So we can go to the county if you want to make that recommendation to the commission and move the line so that it's all within the CRA, so that we can spend CRA money on the west side of that road. So I'm sorry, I'll wait till. Okay. So I know I've gone on to a few issues, but the bottom line is we're here tonight to tell you that whatever we do out there needs community engagement. And we haven't started that process specifically on this project. Now I'll sit down.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Manager. Member Blanc. Okay. Member Fox.
Waldo, when we started the community, it's on, red light's on. When we started the community engagement, I think I attended the ones over in my neighborhood. Now, I heard the presentation that she just made about moving citizens, relocating Citizens Field. Is that correct? Is that what she said? Or did I misunderstand her?
So what we're saying is that Citizens Field represents about 6 acres of land. Mm-hmm. And we have a choice. We can keep Citizens Field where it is. We can figure out how to pay to have it renovated. Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe the school board will contribute because we lease it to them for nothing. Okay, or maybe that's all going to fall on the city. And then we're going to have to figure out, is that general fund, wild spaces, CRA money? Okay, or okay, to use the term that I used back in 100 days. Do we go big, and do we look at relocating it and freeing up that 6 acres so that we can do something else on the site? I don't know what the answer to that is at this point. Okay, we're certainly going to need that input from the community, yeah. Right? The community may say that Citizens Field is critical And it's the essence of what that property needs to be. We don't know that, but we need to get that feedback.
Okay, I think before we move forward in doing anything, we have to talk to the people in the community. And I think that's why we feel sometimes, African Americans, that we are not a part of the conversation, because this was a presentation that I am not completely satisfied at all. And Citizens Field is like a landmark in the African American community. I think it needs redoing. We probably need to renovate it, but certainly that's just my feeling. But I think we need to go back to the community to see their feelings on renovating Citizen Field, or should we just relocate it completely? And I know that can be quite costly, but it's a good investment in our community. I didn't see anything about economic development included in any of this for the 8th and Waldo Road. I don't know what can be done, but I think we need to look at something. Now, where is the senior housing going to be? That's where
Well, again, we don't exactly know. We don't even know whether senior housing is viable from a market standpoint at this point, or what it would look like, or how it would get paid for, or funded.
I think that the staff, Mr. Feldman, you probably need to go back and bring this back to us, have the community meetings, get input from the community. My thing is to listen to the people and see what they want, and then we can discuss this. But I don't think now we are in a position as a board to make any decision on this until we hear from the people that it would affect in our community.
Yeah, and Ms. Fox, we're not asking you to make a recommendation on what 8th and Waldo is going to look like tonight.
Okay.
We're asking to use $4,000 of CRA funds to do community outreach.
Oh, well, I move that we do that we use the $4,000.
So I believe that a motion was.
Do we have a motion?
I was going to say.
I wanted to offer a similar one, but I have a small tweak.
So.
Until we finish our comments.
Yeah.
Sure, I have comment too.
Yeah, yep. So if we could, please, right now, Member Fox, I had asked previously Member Plummer to allow for more members to discuss before providing a comment, if that's okay. We do have three lights total, but 2 additional members we have not yet heard from. So if that's amenable to this board, I'd like to hear from the board members, and then I would turn it back to Member Palmer to make a motion. The next light that we have on is Member Bernie Gomez, followed by Member Idhe.
So I'm hearing Evelyn's points. What I think is being missed in this entire conversation. So, point of transparency. If you actually GIS that land in totality to include the shopping center where even before you get to the fire station, you include that land, which should be land acquired for that, which is where the convenience store is, as well as the VFW. You actually have 47.34 or 5 acres of that land. So the county did a quote unquote feasibility study. And if you go back and watch that meeting, I call it the non-feasibility study, because they told you it was actually 15 acres of developable land. We have to come to this discussion with clean hands and be transparent and be honest. So I understand you all are going to make motions, but what I'm asking for you all is, what I think is we're missing is, and Evelyn did bring up a good point, not just about Citizens Field, but economic development. So here's another thing that was done that you don't know. So when it comes to hydrological studies, have them done. When we had to talk about renderings, this is where my angst comes in when I hear the presentation about the timeline. Sarit was not being transparent about who she sat down with. There was no transparency, and that to me is an ethical problem. And she knows it, and I know it. And what I'm going to sit there and say is, when Mr. Hoffman was here, Dan Hoffman was here, we had a discussion. This predates the manager, but we need to talk about things that we can actually do. Why? Because to just redo Citizens Field, we have a community that is already used to noise. We already do football. We could do things. We're supposed to be an innovative city. We need to, let's think about it like this, and I'm going to help maybe if this can formulate the motions other than just spending $4,000. Remember I kept talking about the nickel and diming until we try to get a product? Let's think outside the box. Here's what we can actually do. Number one is, if we look throughout our city, and whether you want to move the lines, paint the lines, or whatever you want to do, fine. But we have nothing to call a destination place here in Gainesville. If you have the O'Connell Center, that's University of Florida. Everybody goes there. That's not ours. We have nothing. We have nothing that has been done in many, many years. This is an opportunity for us to get it right. And I'm not talking about going small. We can get it right by having a destination place. Building partnerships. I'm in a complete agreement whether we have in public-private partnerships, we have them. Yes, we should. If we have making sure we have all the revenue streams, yes, we should. Not just GCRA dollars, wild spaces, public places dollars, tourist development tax dollars, and every other revenue stream. And the manager and I have had this conversation, and he can tell you that. And so what I'm simply asking for us is to my recommendation to managers, you want to hear about things we can actually do? Okay, let's not just put a facade on Citizens Field. Let's not just do that. Let's actually give it our best. And yes, we can have all the community meetings. We don't have to spend $4,000 to do that. We can do that on ourselves. We've proven that. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you why we don't have to do that. You know why we don't have to do that? We've already done that. You know who's done that? Look at our CRA staff. They've had community engagement meetings, folks. We've been down this path. This city likes to do two things great. And Ms. Bush, you can relate to this as former working here. You know this. We will study things to death. We will do study on type of study, and a study just to remember the study. Oh, I forgot about the study, so we'll pay for another study. Folks, let's do this right. We can do this. So I'm in agreement with the manager. So, Mr. Manager, Citizens Field, let's talk about some things we talked about. Some real innovative and imaginative things. I'm open to your idea about moving the line. If that can be done, fine. I know that we have to go back to the county for that. I was right about that. But the other thing is land acquisition. Now, Caper, which is part of your office, has land acquisition in part of their duties, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so guess what? We have the VFW we could have a partnership with, which I know takes money. You need dollars for that. We have to move a fire station. Here's what we have not done. Our friends and neighbors across the street, they haven't been necessarily our best. Here's what's happened. They took some things, and they're not with clean hands either. So we can't put this all on us, but it is incumbent upon us as a city to take the lead. They said that they were going to make sure they kept the event center. The county commission did that, and they have pulled the wool on our eyes. We have got to stop saying where we're going to keep letting the wool be pulled over eyes of East Gainesville over and over again, and that's what's happening. So, Mr. Palmer, to Ms. Fox, I'm saying I also have some things I would like to make it part of motion. I know you have something, but I would like to be inclusive to help provide and narrowly define and tailor it. If your thing is just who's going to do it and study it, fine. But I want to narrowly define it tonight. I don't want us to keep studying this to death and kicking the can down the curb. It's enough. I want us to move forward, provide clear direction, and another thing is who's going to be responsible for it. I don't want it to just be Caper, because really the GCRA staff, Mr. Manager, has had those engagement meetings before you got here. They had those, and we were a part of those on this, and Evelyn knows that too. We were part of that.
Okay, so thank you. I'd like to move to the next member comments, please. We've got member Idy, followed by member Atkins-Puffs.
Can the board hear from these community cultivators, or how are they being chosen?
So the community cultivators program, and Ms. Wolf, Dr. Wolf, is on the call Zoom meeting too, so she can go into more detail. But the whole concept of community cultivators is that we will be soliciting our neighbors that live in different areas that are affected for the project, right? So in this case, we would solicit getting neighbors that live in the vicinity of 8th and Waldo to become our community cultivators. We would
Is there any demographics? Like, are we looking for 18-year-olds or 20-year-olds?
It depends on the project, and it would probably be a mix. I mean, here where we're looking at, a project that is going to be a variety of ages. We would be looking for a variety of our cultivators to represent the demographic that the project would be.
Is 4 people enough to encompass every viewpoint in that whole geological area right there, even in that tight circle? I know I've lived 15 years right by Citizens Field, but I don't feel like I can say, you know, I love the football stadium. Those Friday night games are gigantic.
Yeah, so we're not hiring people to just tell us their opinion.
Right.
We will be training them to go out into the community to ask the questions and bring the information back.
And then what questions are those, or who decides on what they're asking? And then who are those cultivators going to report to us? Or
So the community cultivators are part of our communications and engagement team.
Okay.
Okay, and they'll be working, so the questions, and we're happy to formulate what those questions are with you and get, you know, some feedback, but recognize you only meet once a month. We're trying to get this thing going too. So if there are specific questions that you think you want us to ask, if you tell us those, you know, we'll you know, build those into the you know, into the dialogue that we'll be creating.
Right. And
This is our first attempt at using community cultivators.
Okay, and then my other thing is, you know, like I think, you know, like a food court, like kind of incubator to bring food to that neighborhood, like, because I mean, there used to be there's a Quick Mart on 8th, and there was a restaurant there right next to it, but it closed down. And I think there's one on the other side of Waldo on 8th. But it would be cool, like, to have, like, I know in New Orleans there's St. Roch's Market, where you can, it's where restaurants kind of like run in ideas, and it would allow for multiple people for like cheap rent to learn, see if their concepts could work, and then decide if they want to do a brick and mortar shop. But it could be like great, because if there's football games going on, they'll get business, and it kind of goes hand in hand right there.
Right, and again, I just want to point out, so in the matter of 45 minutes, I've heard, you know, maybe we need to look at relocating Citizens Field, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe Citizens Field is a driver to this. So that's the type of, you know, definition of a project that we need, right? We, you know, it would be helpful to us, and I'm not asking you to do this tonight, but to tell us what your opinions are on, your collective, unified opinion is on what stays and what doesn't stay. We've told you the MLK Center needs to stay, in our opinion. We told you the pool needs to stay, in our opinion. Those are just, you know, structures. They could be moved too. So we need to hear from you as to what you're envisioning there, and how we're, you know, how we're going, you know, we need your input. And not input just in the process, but tell us what works and what doesn't work on there. There's a lot of discussion, but, you know, since January, when I first saw the presentation here, there hasn't been a vote saying this is what we want. There's been discussion, right? There's been discussion about size, but there hasn't been any discussion about specifics.
Okay, thank you very much. I've just been notified we've got hands up on our Zoom. We've got members who have yet to speak. So, you know, folks, we really need to make sure we get everybody in. Member Atkins Tuft, you were up next. Your light was on next.
A couple pieces, I guess. One, it's a point of confusion. You're talking about our ability to move the boundary lines to the GCRA. I mean, that seems kind of seismic. Like, is that? Could you speak more to that?
So the boundary line at this point is just set out by interlocal agreement. Mm-hmm. It would take the city commission and the county commission to agree to move the line. Cool. You can contract or you can expand. That is possible, though. Yes, it's just an amendment to the agreement.
Cool. That's really interesting. Awesome. Thank you so much. The 2 points I have is, I guess, one, within this plan, just being able to cross Waldo Road. I think that's a major thing that I'd like to see included in this. Just how to get people across Waldo Road, how to bring Duval into this project. I know that just for some reason Waldo Road has just been this geographic kind of dead space. And then also, I really like that idea around, we were talking about this is such a food desert out here. I mean, something that I think would be huge was something like Armature Works in Tampa that just like seismically shifted that whole area. You talk about large destination, you talk about creating opportunity employments through, there's the East Side Culinary Program, local representation of restaurants. I don't know if you guys are, I'm sure you're familiar with Armature Works. That's like the main concept. It's not chains, it's local restaurants servicing. It's a huge draw. So the 2 points I have is crossing Waldo Road, having a way that people, especially like bikes and pedestrians, and just normalizing the process of crossing Waldo Road, which I know is challenging. And then, yeah, something that's like Grundy says is like it's a draw. You know, something that people drive from. I mean, we drove from Gainesville to go to Tampa to go to Armature Works. You know, like people drive from west side of town to go to this place, a destination location. Yeah. So I think those are the two things that stick out to me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We'll go to the member comments that we have participating virtually. Tricia, if you want to help us facilitate that.
Yes, we have member Mitchell, and we also have a public comment on the previous item that I'm hoping we'll just get a chance to speak after we're done with this discussion, not to throw everything off.
Okay, yeah, let's hold that public comment until after we have a chance to take action on this particular item. But thank you for letting us know that we've got somebody there. We definitely want to hear from them.
Okay, thank you. And member Mitchell, you're up.
Thank you, Tricia. Yes, I wanted to get to something that was mentioned previously about staff's ability to address economic development, and I think they were talking about hiring someone, so I would like to know the status of that. And with that, understanding that Eric Bredfeld is involved, is there some kind of redundancy in hiring somebody on staff, or is it really necessary to have somebody in addition to Eric Bredfeld? And I also want to, it's hard to articulate, but kind of going back to Member Gomez's passion about something big, we really need something that circulates, creates and circulates revenue in the Black community. We don't need, I hear small business in there, but we also need something that anchors as well. Something that is really strong, that creates jobs, that motivates people to do more because they see something. They see something in this community that is significant. And if we don't have that, then it's just going to become something bland and just like something that's everywhere else. So yeah, I digress, but back to that original point about an economic development person that would really kind of help us probably get a good picture and vision and maybe some good ideas across the country about what people have been doing.
Thank you very much for your comments, Member Mitchell. Member Nielsen.
Everybody know, I have quietly tried to get my arms around this. And if you will allow me, indulge me a minute, I'd like to try to offer a kind of a 25,000 foot perspective on what we're looking at. You know, there's a huge opportunity. And the situation here needs to be some sort of game change plan. We've heard destination is important. The attraction of people, where people can live, work, and play, where this infuses social and economic energy into the nearby community and the broader community. Something that belongs to the entire community, as a matter of fact. It seems to me that we all basically have that ideal in the back of our mind. What I am wrestling with, and this is really problematic for me, because I've traveled a lot, been to a lot of cities and see things, projects, whatever. What can we do here that really makes a difference? And it seems to me some of us have this idea that we have to have one major big time project. Go for the gold, big time project, and I don't know what that would be. I really don't. Or a collection of collaborations, projects, businesses, public entities that somehow work together to develop a mixed-use type of intense development that, again, meets the goals of expanding the social and economic opportunity of the community. So I think we need to kind of keep that in mind. We've got, you know, some people have the idea that we need to have that one big issue. That's going to solve it for us. Well, I'm willing to hear that, but I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anybody's fantasy about that. I mean fantasy in the sense of an idea in their head, not necessarily something that's goofy. I mean, really, I haven't heard anybody say something. Well, we need to do this, and, you know, if we can figure it, or we need to do something more complex. Now, to do that, that takes a lot of work. The complex, you know, it does, to make it work, to make it last, to make it have impact. So I'm asking you guys on the board and staff and everybody else to kind of keep that in mind, and instead of kind of going around in circles, let's hear some substance, not just one little thing, moving Citizen Field or expanding the district. We can do those kind of things if we have that big vision about what we want to do. So instead of getting into the weeds before we get our ideals and our goals in mind, let's get the goals set. Let's see if we can't get something realistic, something that's practical, that will work. And I'm listening. As you know, I've been listening to it, and I haven't heard it yet, to be frank, and I just want to encourage that kind of discussion.
I'm with you.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Member Nielsen. Member Fox, followed by Member Grundy Gomez.
Listening to everyone. I remember I was on the Recreation Board when we were discussing Depot Park, and everybody thought it was crazy, you know, us putting the park there in the middle of where everything was contaminated at Depot. But look at it now. It is the center of Gainesville. Everybody comes to Depot Park now. But it was just like, I mean, we went through all of the same thing with the Recreation Board. Why are we going to invest all those millions of dollars to get all that contaminated soil out and da-da-da? And look at it now. So we have to think big about 8th and Waldo. And I think given a little time and a little bit of input from the community, I think we could we could think big, and 8th Avenue and Waldo will be the same. It will be the center of Gainesville, just like Depot Park is. So let's not underestimate what we can do, Mr. Manager. And I think we can make it a phenomenal place. With just a little time, I haven't given it too much thought until tonight, but let us all think about it and perhaps come back next month or send some ideas to staff about what you think should or shouldn't be, and then we could go from there. Now, the motion on the floor was the $4,000. That's what we were discussing?
Yes, we don't, yeah.
Okay. Okay, because I heard the manager said that what we were discussing before we got to all of this was that the $4,000 for the community.
Right, the question on the table from a staff perspective is, will we fund the $4,000 for the community engagement portion? We do not have a motion on the floor just yet.
Okay, that was the discussion. Yes. Well, I think I made the motion, but it died for a sec, and you said you had something else you wanted to add?
Yes, so we had
the motions until we were done with
Oh, okay.
So I had asked, and this was now
Yes,
probably an
I-
hour ago, to hear from more members before. It was pretty early in the conversation when Member Palmer said he wanted to make a motion. We had only heard from like 2 members.
Okay,
So I asked
yeah.
him to please wait.
Well, it is
And then in the
8:30.
meantime, we have had quite plentiful discussion. So I would like to honor that, to go back to Mr. Palmer, when this board feels like we have gotten through this member comment portion. So, any further comments, Member Fox? Member Fox?
Pardon me?
Any further comments?
Oh, no, I'm done.
Okay, thank you very much. Member Brenda Gomez.
Member Nielsen, I'd like to take you up on your offer. We had an idea that we talked about, so here's some vision of what we could do. We could take $4,000 and spend it on exploring, or some of us could start looking and seeing places that we could see as a board. For an example, visualization matters. I like to be visual. There's 2 places that we can look at that did it. We don't have to go far. Actually, there's 3. Orlando took a lot of an area in and around the stadium and took a $500 million bond and redeveloped an area. Another successful area, Mr. Manager, is the city of Birmingham. The city of Birmingham built what's called the Crossplex, similar to what 8th and Waldo is. We have a 71-year-old football stadium. The Crossplex, Mr. Manager, and you and I have talked about this. They said, just like Member Fox just brought up a second ago, the Crossplex, you can look it up. We could turn 8th and Waldo into something like the Crossplex, except for us, maybe not on the size and magnitude, we could make it a multicultural, inclusive center, a multicultural center. How do we do that? One that is inclusive of everybody. We have a heated heated swimming pool. We have a stadium right now that we could actually convert and start something new and fresh. People are used to it. Imagine if we had an indoor arena as a destination place where we could have concerts, where we could have trade shows, where we could have things of that nature, where we could have lots of things. We could have even race. There's a lot of multitudes, but the Crossplex is an example of that. The other one is the city of Nashville, where you say, well, we're also a community that values nature. We value protecting the environment. If you look at the music hall, I believe it is, Mr. Henry can correct me if I'm wrong, they have a green roof. They have a green roof. So what is a destination place, Member Nielsen, to your credit? If I tell them, Mr. Manager, say you want to input, Mr. Manager, so I'm saying, here's some things we could do. Number 1, we could purchase the land that's within Caper's purview. We could purchase the VFW land. We could purchase the commercial land that's over there off of 8th and Waldo. Secondly, what you could do, Mr. Manager, is we could look at taking a trip, some of us, or all of us, or however we could do, as a group, and maybe some citizens as well, and go and look at the Crossplex. Because I think that is an area that is similar in character to what we're talking about here in 8th and Waldo. And I want to kind of give something that's very tangible. So what that project does, it was a massive project. And I believe one of your, I forget which city manager, I forgot, I believe it's Ms. Bowie could talk about that. I had some questions. She's not here. I don't know if she's here or not. But the Crossplex is a magnanimous project. Ms. Bowie, could you give me some help here or tag in? Because I need some help.
Sure, and I'll be brief because I know we still have some other agenda items. So several years ago, you remember we talked about taking a small group up to actually go visit the Crossplex. And so for those here listening, the Crossplex had been very much like we talked about Citizens Field, right? So the western part of Jefferson County in Birmingham is a densely populated majority minority community, high crime rate, not a lot of development, just lots of problems. And so that field and the entire area had a troubled history of segregated, and it just sat, defunct for years. And so the effort was to just tear it down and construct something that would honor the legacy, but then have a new purpose. And so it was a pretty significant, $46, $48, $49 million facility. Huge scale, but it has been consistently every year ranked the #1 intramural high school sports arena with an indoor hydraulic track it's always open. Obviously COVID, I'm sure, has created some challenges, track meet, and natatorium of significant scale. So when it was constructed, obviously the city made all of the investment, and it wasn't without some criticism and pushback from a lot of people about the use of it, right? The use of the public money to build something of that scale. About a decade later, private development did eventually come, right? Starbucks built a training facility, I think several hotels. I'm sure that they have suffered tremendously with COVID, but prior to that, it still is a highly successful project that was a reuse and a significant use that was able to really become kind of a crown jewel for the city of Birmingham in bringing in intramural high school sports competitions. So that's CrossFit in a nutshell.
Thank you. So what my idea would be, thank you, Ms. Bowie. So my idea would be, instead of us spending the $4,000, I think that what we should do as a board, since we're going to need to look at it, and maybe take some members of the community with us, is we take a trip to Birmingham or Nashville or whatever it is, and we go look at things like that. It's similar in nature. We can all do our homework when we go home to our respective places tonight and look at it ourselves. But I think that you wanted something visual. Mr. Nielsen, I think I took the challenge and I take you up on it. And I welcome other ideas, and that's it, and I digress with that. So I want to include I know you all want to spend the dollars, but that's my idea on how we can spend the $4,000 much better.
Thank you very much, and I see Mr. Manager standing there, so I assume you're going to want to make a comment, and I just ask that you make it brief because this board has been very patient getting to what I hope will be a motion next by Member Palmer.
I just wanted to point out, because I don't want to create expectations that can't be delivered on, keep in mind that the county has chosen to build a very similar type of facility on the west of 75. And we do need to be cognizant that the market can only support so much. So but I mean, I think that's the type of idea that we have to think about what we can envision and then see how it fits into the market.
Thank you for that point. Member Palmer, I'm going to turn it to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess I hadn't realized about that facility west of 75. My sort of random meandering comment on that is I think that's more of the same, ignoring what East Gainesville needs and watching West Gainesville take what they want and build what they can. But that's kind of neither here nor there. So at this point, the one thing I would like to mention that I'd like to challenge staff with, there's a concept in the book Built to Last. It's a business book about how you build things that are really interesting. There's a concept called the big, hairy, audacious goal. You take the biggest idea you can come up with and then start figuring that out. Personally, I would like to challenge staff to work on developing what they call a BHAG around 8th and Waldo. What are some crazy ideas that we can come up with? I think one of the issues that I feel like we have in Gainesville is that we kind of keep going back to the same well and expecting different answers. To me, that's the definition of insanity, is we keep asking the same people. So the motion I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and fund this study using the community cultivators as listed on, however we want to say it, is listed in the fiscal note. I'd like to go ahead and fund that. I do think, Mondo, to your point, I think we should do that as well. I think this is a chance, with the focusing just specifically here in this community engagement, I would like to challenge them to focus on youth and engaging a younger crowd and figuring out what the 17-year-old or whatever the skewing younger crowd is. I don't know if I should define that with a specific age for this motion, but I think the younger crowd is where we're going to get the most innovative ideas, and that is the community that we're trying to invest in the most here. So I personally would like to go ahead and fund this with an idea that we focus on youth aspirational interests. What kind of crazy things did some 9-year-old girl think would be the coolest thing that she could have downtown? And maybe we figure out how to make that work. So, but yeah, so the motion is fund this as said with a special focus on youth aspirational interests.
Okay, thank you for the motion. The motion on the floor is to move forward with the $4,000 budget for community engagement with a focus on youth specific kind of interest. We have a second from Member Brenda Gomez.
I have a friendly amendment.
With a friendly amendment, Member Palmer, if you're willing to entertain it.
I want us to be a little bit more innovative. We could reach out to also HBCUs throughout our state, especially whether it be FAMU, to include them in coming up with quote unquote big ideas. But I appreciate your willing to entertain them. I really think that we could benefit, including those who we select on going on that trip. We also, I want to remind the manager just brought up about, that was the promise about the stadium going on I-75. Let me remind you, that was part of the event center where the promise was broken. And we also have a new county commissioner, 2 of them. And things can change. Things can change. And it is imperative upon us, no matter what they do, that a promise was kept to this community and we need to uphold it. And that event center was taken from East Gainesville when it was the fairgrounds. They said they would keep the event center in East Gainesville, and those county commissioners did not keep their promise. So he is correct, and I acknowledge that, but I also want to know things can change. So if you would be open, Member Palmer, to also including us having a trip to whether it be Birmingham or Nashville, whatever the manager or staff finds feasible and tangible of what some of us can go or some of us can't go. I know we're all busy lives or whatever, but I think we should do that sooner than later, soon.
Would you be open to doing that as a second motion?
Sure.
I'd like to
Sure. I will do that. Sure. I'll
speaking to HBCUs, but this is, to me, this is community cultivation, and I think this money should be focused directly in, let's get into the community, let's see what ideas we have out of the community right
Still
here.
second.
Okay, so the motion on the floor still stands to fund it for $4,000 community engagement with a focus on youth activities. Are there other comments or discussion points? Online, Tricia? Any comments from online community?
Not on this item. No.
Okay, thank you. Before we call a vote on this, I do just want to offer my comments on this. I think that part of the confusion and frustration that you were hearing from the board tonight was there seemed to be a disconnect between what we were actually being asked for, which was to fund $4,000 in community engagement, versus a 30 slide PowerPoint around some relatively concrete concepts of what could go on the site. And at least from this member's perspective, I don't want to speak for the entire board, but reading the agenda item versus what the presentation was given, it was very confusing. And so just as a point of feedback, take that for what it's worth. But I think that there was a disconnect there that was really causing some problems for the focus tonight. So with that being said, if there's no further discussion, we'll go ahead and call the question. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those like sign? Opposed, like sign? Okay.
Oh, public comment.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. We do have a member in the audience that would like public comment.
Before we vote.
Yep. I'm sorry. My fault. Would you like to come to the podium and introduce yourself for public comment?
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair Bush, and members of the commission. Just like to share my thoughts about your conversation concerning 8th and Waldo. Number one, this is an opportunity for creativity and imagination, which over the decades have not been done when it has come to major opportunities happening in East Gainesville. Secondly, to me, the underlying value of this is economic development. And if you think about what we're talking about and what exists already, you have Citizens Field, you have MLK, you have the pool, you have the fields north of the pool, which can be used for soccer or whatever the case may be. but that particular area can be redesigned into a major cultural, entertainment, and sports complex. There's been some talk about Citizens Field. I don't recommend relocating Citizens Field. Citizens Field is a recreational asset to East Gainesville. And if I can just share my experience, can I just take this mask? I'm hyperventilating, I'm sorry. So anyway, during my tenure on the city commission, we had to deal with Ironwood Golf Course. There was a swell of discontent that the city should get rid of Ironwood. And at that time, we had to decide whether to invest in Ironwood to make it better or not invest. And since I served as a District 1 commissioner, I fought for us to keep Ironwood, and we invested like $300,000 in Ironwood Golf Course. At the time, it wasn't profitable, but because we made the decision to invest in Ironwood, it has become profitable to the city of Gainesville. But not only that, it has enhanced its value as a recreational asset to the city as well as East Gainesville. And that's what this particular opportunity represents. It represents a great economic value to the city. This area represents the opportunity to create a hub in East Gainesville, which we've never experienced. I'm a native of Gainesville, born and raised in East Gainesville as well. Thirdly, be cautious of the uses. Don't crowd too many uses in one area. Also, let's look at surrounding areas that can complement this particular development. She had different uses such as an urgent care center. Well, there's property adjacent to Kentucky Fried Chicken there that could support an urgent care center. I don't think something like that should go here at that area. Senior center. Let's look at it at an existing property that we own, such as the Eastside Recreation Center, located just before you get to Morningside Nature Center. It's located at Cone Park. Why not tear that center down and build a senior center there instead of trying to squeeze one here in this property? Citizens Field can be reoriented and rebuilt. If you're going to talk about relocating it and building a new stadium, why not just tear that down, reorient it so you can use more of the acreage where it's located and build a multi-purpose facility. You could have conference center there as well as sports also. So these are things that we just need to think about, and maybe what we need to do is bring in someone who's used to reconfiguring spaces like this, because quite frankly, I don't think that our city staff totally has what is needed to tackle an opportunity like this. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Members of the board, feel free to obviously change your vote in light of the public comment that we're about ready to take. So my apologies for not catching that first. I'm sorry, I think
I had my light on first. I just turned it off.
Okay, so we have, I guess, another motion to be considered,
Yes.
or any further public comment from the virtual space on the first motion before we move to a second?
Not on this motion.
Okay, thank you. Member
All right,
Grant.
thank you, Madam Chair. I want to move a couple of things. So we don't have the further, when coming before this body, I guess it's within the purview of the manager. But I also agree with your comments, Madam Chair, about the confusion that has been inundating us has been a confusion. I want us to really, I move right now that we take a trip. We just made it, we just voted on your motion.
So do we need to take another vote on the first motion?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. I'm sorry, I digress. I digress, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Let's just get clear on the order, and it's my fault since I forgot about the public comment.
Madam Chair, when the voting started, Tricia, I'm sorry, the gentleman in the back, we took citizen comments, so the vote was never finalized.
Okay, so we need to make a vote on the first motion before we, okay. Okay, very good. Okay, so then, for the first motion that is currently on the table, now that we have heard public comment as appropriate, we are going to vote on the first motion, which was to fund the $4,000 for community engagement with a focus on youth-specific interests. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. The motion passes. Oh, and member, I believe it's Abraben that's joining us virtually for a vote.
He has signed off for the
Okay.
evening.
Member Mitchell can't vote.
Okay, and member Mitchell cannot vote at this time, so it looks like we have a unanimous decision on the first motion. And then I will turn it to you, member Grundy Gomez,
Okay,
for the second.
I really want to come back to, since I pulled out my friendly amendment, I think it would benefit us all, especially from hearing that we really need to have an idea of what we want to do with Citizens Field. This is the area where we narrowly define and go big. And I think this is an important factor from the studies that I've had done to include economic studies, and this is recently, they've been done. I move that we all of us or whatever members are able to go, and if it would be CRA staff or whoever would be in charge of it, I'll leave it up to them, where we could take a trip to either Nashville or to Birmingham to see the Crossplex. I think it would benefit us all greatly to have a destination place. In spite of what the county is, we can go back to the county, we can have conversations with them about upholding their promise, because that's our tax dollars too, those are our county tax dollars. And so they said that they were gonna support East Gainesville, we need to uphold it. But we need to be the leader here, and I think that by being the leader here, is we need to go see things. Until you can touch it, see it, and feel it, it doesn't mean anything until you can go see it for yourself.
Point of clarity, where was the place that,
Ms. Bowie?
Ms. Bowie spoke of?
That's the Crossplex in Birmingham.
Okay. I think if, just friendly banter, I guess, if nothing else, I think if we're going to define trying to go somewhere, we should say, this is where we're going,
Okay.
this is what we want to do, and let's at least push to staff if that's what we're gonna do. I'm worried about us getting to 9 o'clock.
Fair enough, okay, so I move that, and that, with that respect, I move that we, as a board, with whoever can go to see the Crossplex in Birmingham. I move that.
Okay, is there a point of information before we ask for a second? Okay, Mr. Manager?
I would just like to point out that we will have to get a legal opinion regarding Sunshine, about having a public body or more than one member of a public body.
That's a good point.
Attend something where the public can't be.
Would you be open to amending the motion as researching viability of that, figuring out how much it's, what it's gonna take?
So
we could get into the weeds of that. I'll trust that. I think it is imperative that we need to go see it. So it doesn't, if it needs to be a contingent of us, it should be. I'm not saying all the board, but all of us are pretty familiar with Sunshine Law and not violating it.
Okay.
But yes, I agree with that, but the motion stands, yes.
So we have a motion on the floor, and I believe we've got some lights flashing for potential clarity. There has not been a second on the motion just yet. Additional points of information?
Yeah.
Member Blunt?
Just to point to the travel idea and what the manager has just said, from my long experience on both housing authorities, trips that are educational or fact-finding are well within Sunshine Law for members of our appointed body to travel together.
Oh, thank you for that comment. Next, I believe Member Fox, point of information?
This discussion and vote, I move that we suspend our agenda, the other items, until next month. It is 9 o'clock, and I don't know about the rest of you. I have not had dinner yet.
Okay.
So, I don't want to leave in the middle of the meeting. So can we suspend everything else on the agenda, Sarah, and put it for next month? Can we do that?
We'll have to, I guess, check with the board and just make sure, or the staff to make sure that there's no time-sensitive items that, since we only meet once a month, is there any other agenda item on this agenda that we would need?
Information, we still have a motion on the floor. If it's going to be, if it dies for lack of a second, dies for lack of a second. There could be discussion after the motion or the second. But that can be answered after the motion.
Okay. Let's focus on the motion on the floor. Okay, no more points of, well, I can't say that. Is there a second? Okay. Member Blunt has seconded the motion to, for those who are able to go to personally see in Birmingham, the Crossplex.
Yes.
That is the motion on the floor. All members in favor say aye.
Aye.
All members opposed, like sign. The motion passes unanimously. Okay?
I agree with you.
Virtual, nope, okay, they're not there anymore.
Would now be a good time for Mr. Espinosa to make his comment? He's been waiting for a while too.
Yes, let's go ahead and make the public comment, and we apologize, Mr. Espinosa. It has taken so long to return to this item. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Hello everyone. Greetings.
Hello.
I would like to speak to the Infinity Line item. I was unable to do so due to technical issues. I'm really happy to see the board support this project, and I would like to provide the voice of someone who lives and works in the East Side. I know this meeting has been long, so I'll keep my comment brief. So I want to thank you in advance. I own a home in the Spring Hill neighborhood in Gainesville's East Side, and I founded a not-for-profit gym located at the intersection of Waldo Road and East University, now 8 years in operation. I've worked and lived in the East Side for nearly a decade. The East Side Rail Trail is my main mode of transportation to work and a major form of recreation for my family and I. We often use the trail to go to Depot Park with our toddler, and my wife and I walk the trail at night. As a health and fitness professional who works in this area, I've seen the CDC maps where obesity rates within the city of Gainesville have the highest concentration east of Waldo Road and north of Northeast 16th Avenue. These two areas border the proposed Infinity Line and are also predominantly African-American neighborhoods. As it stands right now, the rail trail on the east side lacks the access, safety, and refinement of similar trails on the west side, where bricks and lights line the trail and where the landscaping is manicured and clean. To the west, the trail is a place. It feels safe. On the east side, where I live, there's an altogether different look and feeling. I've noticed a striking disparity with clear areas of distinction that, quite frankly, echo historic racialized boundaries. Once you pass the bed and breakfast district and enter eastbound into Spring Hill, my neighborhood, the trail becomes less lit, less manicured, less refined, and as a result, it feels less safe. It's clear to me if you've it's clear if you've ever ridden these trails from west to east that a different level of care was taken when these trails were constructed. And if you have not had the opportunity to ride the trail from west to east up towards Waldo and 8th, I highly recommend it. There are so many disparities that a full catalog of their impacts would be worth noting. This project, the Infinity Line project, proposes a bridge over the intersection of Waldo and University, where my business is located. Currently, this intersection acts as a point of conflict for residents of the Duval neighborhood to access Depot Park, which has become the gem of Gainesville. For a child from the Duval neighborhood to go to Depot Park, which is less than a mile away, they must cross 16 to 17 lanes of heavy traffic. I myself have seen countless accidents where pedestrians and cyclists have been killed, with the latest death occurring in April of this year. I understand that this kind of redevelopment costs a lot of money. My question would be, are the lives lost at this intersection worth less than the cost to implement this plan? And
yep. Mr. Espinosa, I'm sorry, there's a 3-minute timer. Could you please wrap up your comments or conclude with your question, please?
The city has a huge opportunity here to work with other entities to reinvest in a space that will greatly improve the quality of life for all of Gainesville residents, specifically here on the east side. I appreciate your time and attention placed on this project, and I'm convinced that this project will bring unity to our city and provide a foundational solution to remedy the racial disparities passed down by the generations before us. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, and thank you for your patience. I believe that Ms. Bowie, did you want to provide a comment? Your hand was up.
It was. I was just making the suggestion with COVID. I don't know what that travel would look like, and we don't have to discuss it tonight, but I'm happy to look into some options for initially maybe even a virtual meeting, and I can certainly follow back up with this group if there's interest for that.
Thanks very much. We do appreciate that.
Point of information. Ms. Bowie, my question would be, outside of virtual, again, and yes, I understand virtual, but we can't touch and see Crossplex virtually.
No, I hear you. I don't know. I don't know what travel looks like. So
I wasn't trying to go back and forth with Judge.
Yeah, virtual meeting. Yeah,
Gotcha.
absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm not sure, Member Blunt, did you still have your light on?
I actually had a lightweight comment I wanted to offer after the motions on this item are clear.
Okay, I think now would be a good opportunity to do that.
Okay, I'm just going to throw an idea into the mix for those community, what do we call them? Community what's?
Community enhancers?
Community.
Whatever was the term for them. Just an idea to throw in the bucket for them to start off the discussion. So here's my notion. On that commercial plot at the distal southeast point of the property, that's a commercial site now, an IMAX dome and 4 additional screens and a film production workshop for enrolled high schoolers. And we could get probably free great advisory help for that on groups like the American Black Film Forum or other cinema arts group that Trish Nunn used to tell me about.
Okay, thank you, Member Blunt. Now, was that just a comment to the staff to look into, or is that an actual motion?
That's an idea to throw out with those. That's not a
Okay,
motion. That's an idea to throw out amongst those community folks. Start the discussion.
Okay, so I believe that has been heard. Yes. I believe that Member Fox was next in terms of the lights.
Second.
Okay, staff, any issues in terms of agenda items that have any time-sensitive problems? Because I think that we are all getting to the same point as Member Fox.
Member Fox, would you be open to come back and see?
Yes, I will.
Are we good from an agenda standpoint to conclude this meeting tonight and potentially reconvene either in 2 weeks or just at our next scheduled meeting?
I would recommend that we continue the meeting instead of suspending it. That means we can continue to another meeting and we set a date because we've done that before. It might make it easier for staff, and then we can just get a date on when we can next come back for a publicly advertised meeting. Member Fox, just some advice.
There are no actions needed on the final 2 items, so we could reconvene as a virtual work group. That is an option.
Okay, I think that Member Fox, does that comport with your motion?
I said second.
Okay, so we've got a motion to continue this meeting via a virtual workshop to hear the remaining 2 items, and staff, you will reach out to the board to get a date scheduled. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the motion on the floor. It has been seconded by Member Grundy Gomez. Any further discussion or comment? Public comment on the motion. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. The motion passes unanimously, and we are adjourned.
I told you to.